Hey, what's up? Ken from Palm Beach Dyno here. Welcome to the latest episode of the Hit the Brakes podcast, where we sit down with industry leaders and racers and have long conversations. Our next guest is the go-to guy if you need to activate traction on your street car. Also known as Mr. Dragy, today we sit down with Kelly Aiken. All right, Kelly, welcome to Hit the Brakes podcast. You're in town for a couple special occasions. Why don't we start right there? What are you doing here?
So as you know, I've been wanting to get a Hellcat for a while. The time was right. They're not making them anymore. So I found one last minute. They had a wide body up here at the dealership right down the road. So I booked a flight. That was a whole different experience with the Silver Airways. So I picked that up. And then my buddy John at Celsius was like, hey man, I'm going to pick up my Lamborghini today. So we were only a couple miles apart buying cars, and then that's all she wrote. And I'm still here. So.
Well, he doesn't exactly just work at Celsius. He's the CEO of Celsius. So
yes.
Very cool guy. I got to meet him, and we did some YouTube stuff with those guys, which is awesome. So what did you think about the whole F1 scene? It's what happened today. It wasn't obviously the race.
So today was like a warm up. People. If you get certain tickets, I guess you get to go look at the cars and, it's whatever. So all the booths are open. Everything's going. They're just not actually doing the real racing. So there's
so there was no cars running.
There was.
Oh, there was just like a practice type thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, a lot of Porsche cars. John and so Celsius sponsors Ferrari. So they're a big sponsor for Ferrari, and in doing so, they got to do the hot laps.
Oh,
so they got to do the Ferrari around the track and stuff. So, and a friend,
as a passenger or driving?
A passenger.
Okay, that's what I figured.
But they were going 180 and stuff. So
nice.
That's a cool experience.
Well, you definitely don't want them doing that.
Yeah, no. Especially John. Trust me, I ever had to ride with him there and back in the Lambo today.
That's funny.
It's crazy. So. But yeah, it was a good time. That's a whole different world,
Mm-hmm.
We have our heads buried in the street strip and all this stuff, and it's just a whole different world.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing about the car world is there's just so many levels to it.
Right.
I mean, that does attract more of money than car people, maybe.
Yes.
But there's still a lot of real car people there, obviously, or else the cars wouldn't function the way they do. So, anyway, what we'd like to do on this podcast is bring up people's histories, especially in your case, because you've been in this business so long, and there's so many people coming in and out of this hobby that I believe sometimes that gets missed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you are Kelly from Kelltrac, but 5 or 10 years ago, you were Kelly from BMR to everybody.
Right.
And before that, you did other things. So let's start with how you got into this business.
Okay.
What were you doing when you started messing with cars, or when did you start messing with cars?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick history. My brother-in-law, back in the late 90s. So I grew up in Texas, and LG Motorsports, most people, who LG. Okay. So we didn't live too far from them. I didn't know much about cars back then. I was your typical magazine, a Viper or a Lamborghini, whatever. And he pulls up in a Camaro, 96 or 7. So this shows when this was. It was a new car that he had bought, and he shipped it to LG. So it's kind of like some of your customers, right?
Right.
And this was back then. And at the time, I think it made 600 or 700 rear wheel horsepower. It had harnesses in it, had the ground effects, the G2 stickers, the cam, supercharger. I think it was like a Novi 2200 or 2000, whatever they were.
Yeah, those were hot back then.
Yeah. So I rode in it and I was addicted, period. Yeah. It had Nittos on the back. I think that's when they first started doing their in 555s or whatever, 315s on a 17 fixie wheel, and that was it. Literally, I was addicted.
What time frame was this year, or how old
that
were
was
you?
the 1998-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was 16, so just started
Perfect
driving,
time.
And I was addicted. I would go to his house, and it was my sister and him, and they lived 30 minutes away, and he's probably gonna watch this, and he can attest. I was I would go, I would ask my parents, hey, you know, I'm going to go spend the night with Jim. And I would make like, okay, if I buy a 95 Cobra, here's going to be my whole build sheet.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm not going to keep on going, but every car, it was like, if I buy this car, it's going to have these heads, this cam. I mean, I'm 16.
Right.
I was reading 5.0 magazines. So, and this is leading into how it really started. But, you know, so I knew the Evan Smiths and all these names in the Mustang world back then in the magazines and the editors, because you're young, you know, you're reading it. And then what really hit though is I had Camaros, I had Mustang Cobras. I think I had like 11 cars before I got out of high school. Mm-hmm. So I was even hot rodding like a Lincoln Mark 8. Remember those with the B-headed 4.6?
Yeah.
And I had like a Flowmaster and a tuna converter and a nitrous, whatever.
The Lincoln was the first mod motor.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Right. So I went to the military and I ended up making the mistake of buying a 2-valve. Mm-hmm. And it was game over. I was stationed in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I was researching what cold air intake was best, and I found Modular Depot, and it was Ask Bill. Yeah. And I said, how good is a dense charger cold air intake compared to a whatever it was at the time? Right. It wasn't a JLT, you know, it was a name brand. And Bill
dense
answered
charger.
it. Dense charger. It was like PVC that was all connected.
That was like the predecessor to the JLT.
Yeah.
Like JLT came and
but
put
they
dense
put it in the
charger out of
fender,
business.
and it had the 90 in front.
Yeah.
So all the tuners were like, don't put this on the card. There's a 90 in front of the mass airflow.
Right, right.
And then that's when I started learning, and you know, but it was real
really
quickly.
Quick, let's. I like to keep everything accurate. Bill is Bill Putnam,
UPR.
who was at UPR and is still at UPR.
Yes.
Whatever, 20 years later, 20 plus years later. So obviously a huge asset to this.
Been in the game a long time, had a bunch of cars.
Yeah, he was a huge part of me getting into this. I don't talk to Bill that much anymore for no reason, just because, you know, when you get old, you lose touch. But, you know, he was a huge part of me getting into this business because he did the Ask Bill section on Modular Depot, which was my website. But back then, I didn't know that much. And I was just like, hey, man, everybody wants to ask you questions. But people thought you
did.
Yeah.
Seriously, you know.
Right. Well, because, and, you know, that's a great segue real quick. We'll go on a little tangent because that's the whole point of this. We got all the time in the world and why I want to give your history and the history of other people I have on my podcast is it's super easy to portray a certain level of expertise on the internet when you don't have it.
Yep.
And I don't feel like I was trying to do that, but I own the website. Yeah. I was posting all the time.
That was popular.
I had a popular car.
So then people knew like, oh man, you know, that you're in a magazine with a car that's setting records and you're a flagship of like this platform. I have people that say like back in the day I was into 2-valves because Ken was.
Right. I mean, a perfect example of that's a perfect example as to the good and bad of this. The way everything works is because I had multiple people behind me supporting me in a way that there's no way I could have done anything I did at all. Like people say that all the time, but I mean, legitimately, I knew nothing at all about cars. I knew everything about computers, and I can learn things really fast, and I did learn things really fast. But you know, Brandon Allset helped me put the cams in that car. He was probably supposed to be the faster one, and then right before the mod shootout, his car broke and my car didn't, and I'd never been to a drag race in my freaking life and went to the finals, and you know, something as simple as that made me a mini internet, you know, celebrity. And everybody's like, oh, I need Ken's help. It's like, I don't know.
People would ask for you on the forums.
Yeah.
And people would, on Modular Depot forums in the tech section, people would try to call you out like, Ken, why aren't you ever on here or whatever? And people would be like, go ask Bill. Right. You know?
Yeah.
And it was a lot of cams. That's when I remember VT Stage 2, Eric, or I don't remember the names. Todd? No.
Oh, what was their name? Jim and no, Jim, it was two brothers, Jim and Scott.
Yes.
Yeah, they were Canadian
VT engines.
Yeah, they were. I mean, a lot of people, they were building the engines for Koenigsegg back then. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy
to think of where Koenigsegg's come now. Back then, they were not what they are now. They were getting there, but you know, VT engines, guys on modulardepot.com were building engines for Koenigsegg.
Yeah,
it's like what?
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, back to your deal. So, you know, obviously you found Modular Depot, and that's pretty much how we met, and it wasn't the best meeting
right.
in the beginning, you know.
You probably don't remember that. I've had to, you probably don't remember that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, you've told me. I would have never, if you asked me 5-10 years ago, whenever we became real friends, how did we meet? I'd be like, I don't know. But obviously you do, so why don't you tell us a story?
Yeah, so that's a funny story. I've always had a entrepreneur style, like, hustle. So at that time back then, I was like, I'm gonna draw up Mustang shirt designs, and I had a stangshop.net back in the day. I mean, I was young, man. I didn't think I could legally drink, and I'm starting up these like online websites, and it started taking off. And Ford, I think Ford sent me a cease and desist because I was using all these Ford racing logos. I was just kind of, you know, I was making, you know.
Well, that's good news. You got their attention, because there's lots of people that do that and never hear from Ford.
Well, I had like Zazzle stores. I was just doing what I can. So anyways, once I started kind of like fading out of that, and I'm like, this is too much. It's not enough return. And then I started getting real big on the forums. Well, what I was doing is I was making forum shirts. I was like, I'm just going to design shirts for forums. And I'm young, man. I'm like early 20s or whatever. I'm like, I'm going to copy all these logos, and I'm going to take all the names and so I still have mine from back then, my username on the forum, you know? Well, I did yours, and people started buying them. All kinds of people, like the guy that races the Maverick now, you know, all
James, the guy from Texas,
Mike.
Mike Bowen.
The
blue Maverick.
He bought one. All the big names back then. I think Randy Stinchcomb may have bought one.
Yeah.
But these people were buying them, and you got wind of it. And you sent me a PM, and I like cried. Because I mean, you at that time, you were like a celebrity. I mean, in that segment, you were so far above and beyond everything you were doing. People were copying. Period.
Right.
It's because it wasn't like we had all the different outlets. It was like people copied what you did.
Yeah, people nowadays don't understand the forum days.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing as like TV now, right? Back in the day, there was like NBC, CBS, and you know, whatever.
Exactly.
And you had just a few outlets, and forums were it. I mean, there's a lot of them, but not now. Now everybody's talking on Instagram and Snapchat and there's 8 million groups on Facebook. So the positives back then were a lot of the information was put together and organized, and easily organized because of the way a forum works. And, you know, you can lock it to the top, and you can do that on some Facebook stuff, but it just, the Facebook groups never,
they're not the same. It's just, if you've experienced both, like when I built my first Fox body back in the day, like literally, like everything I was finding was on corral.net.
Yeah.
I could find everything. It was like, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, the problem with that is Facebook just was never able to harness the same concepts.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, I mean, I used my real name on the forum, Ken B, which, you know, people must
people like being behind a screen name though, man.
Yeah, and it added a little bit of extra coolness to it. Actually, it may sound cheesy to some people now, whereas, you know, now it's just everybody's name. There's no mystery. There's no, like, you know, boom, you instantly click on a person's name. You can go look at their profile, see everything they're about.
See their whole family and everything, you know?
And that could be a positive or a negative, right? Like, there's been tons of people that I never even saw a picture of that, you know, because, you know, on a forum, you didn't just go post pictures of yourself.
You're 4.7 stroker? Like, and I still do that. I'm, you know, like
it was a more like spy, like spy feel.
Well, it's kind of like Avatar.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like an Avatar. Like we're in we're in a time where like that's a thing for like young kids.
Yeah,
like,
I have actually a funny story about the whole forum name. We had Stangbangers in Ohio, and, you know, everybody had screen names. And then I had a guy on my Facebook that would recently, well after Stangbangers, replying all the time. You know, a lot of people reply to my stuff, and I don't know who they are.
Right.
And then he says one day, like, hey, man, I'm going to be in Florida. I'm going to stop by. And I'm like, okay. You know, I didn't think much about it. And he showed up, And he's like, hey man, what's up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, he's talking to me like he knows me. And normally I have I remember faces and I didn't recognize them. So normally in this case, I might just kind of play along until I kind of figure it out. But for the one time I go, do I know you? He got upset. He was like, dude, what? Dark Horse 99. And
Oh,
I'm like,
Jason.
Holy crap. Like, you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
funny.
because I always interacted with him as Dark Horse 99.
Yeah.
And then he's replying to my stuff under Jason.
Yep.
Dietz.
Yeah.
So
I used to race with him in Colorado.
So when Jason Dietz is replying to me on Facebook, I'm not like, hey, that's Dark Horse 99.
Yes.
So for years, Jason Dietz is replying. He says he's coming to see me. I act like I don't know him. And it's like, and it's been 20 years.
He's been around forever.
He has a beard and, so that's kind of like.
pretty funny. I got a funny story about him, but that's it. So real quick, you PM'd me.
Yeah.
And you said, every cuss word made, you were like, you're stealing, you can't be making one penny off of my design. You were right though. You can't just take things and put them on shirts. I mean, think about that now.
Right.
And you'd be getting lawsuits and stuff.
Right. But, and back then I'm a little bit older than you, but I was still pretty young. And you get, you take, everything in life isn't that serious, right? It's a forum. How much money am I really going to make off that logo? So you handle things kind of like how you think they should be handled. When in reality, it should have been like, hey man, thanks for making those shirts. It's promoting my website and all that. But I'm just like, no, what are you doing? So
no, you were like, you better not make a penny in it. So then I replied and you never answered. I said something along the lines of, I enjoyed doing this so much and it was catching on. A lot of people were hitting me up and ordering them for $11, whatever it was back then. And I think I was making $3 or something.
Right.
And
big money.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, I posted, I said, I'm actually not making much on it. I'm losing it. I'm actually losing money if you really want to be honest with the time it took. And I said, but if it makes you happy, I'll sell them for this. And it was and I think I even sent uploaded in the image thing, reply like a cost.
Right.
And you never replied. I was like, I wasn't crying, but I told my wife, I said, you'll never believe, I liked this guy online. He was so cool. And he sent me this. And she's like, oh man, he's an asshole.
That's so funny. I mean, I definitely, retrospect, I was definitely a little bit of a jerk back then.
I mean, it was actually aggressive too. It wasn't like, hey man, I'd appreciate it if you don't do that. You were like, you better not be making a fucking penny, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, growing up in New York kind of changes a little different. But anyway, so what was you said you had a 2-valve.
Yeah.
Did you do much for that?
So that was a bolt-on car. I started street racing that in the middle of nowhere. Believe it or not, the street race scene up in the Colorado and the mountain areas up there was really good. You could go to find this road out in the middle of nowhere. Kind of, we weren't really prepping like pimp juice back then, but you're doing your burnout and your water and everything.
But it's the same spot you're using kind of often.
Every weekend. And it's like, you're racing the next guy and it's like, I got to put an intake so I can walk him up top. You're competing every weekend. Yep. And it's like, I'm going to beat you this weekend.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. And then I actually got really good at dig racing with a stick with a T45 2-valve GT on a street tire. To this day, I've never, I haven't lost that ability to make a car leave good. I may not shift as fast as a young kid, but I just taught myself to really just finesse it. And that's when I learned on King Cobra clutches,
Right.
And then that's when it really took off because then people kind of knew my car and it's a 2-valve. I'm racing heads cam F bodies and stuff like that. And then that's when I met, speaking of, Dark Horse 99. He lived in the Denver area.
That's weird that I brought that up because I had no idea that you knew him that well.
Yeah. So I was in the Air Force up there, and he was in. Bill Putnam is about to come into conversation. So we were at Phil Long's All Ford Day. It was a Ford event, right? And I would go race the Mod Motor Shootout class, and he was there, and he broke a UPR part. And launching, because back then we had to launch high. You know what I mean? You didn't have power.
Right.
he had a convertible car back then, and you know, it was all about racing, man. We're all greasy, and that's all you cared about. And we're young kids.
Yeah.
And he was in the pits, and I walked up to him. I'm like, "Hey, man, what's wrong?" And he's on. I think cell phones were like just like really taking off at that point, and I'm like, "Man, this guy has a cell phone." And he's like, "I got UPR calling me back," and I'm like, "Wow, you're big." Like, really? He goes, "Bill Putnam,"
Yeah.
and if Bill watches this and he remembers that, basically. He had broken a UPR part, and UPR Bill was saying he was going to try to ship a part out or something like that. But this goes back, you know, we're talking 20 years, you know, 20
that
years
was a
ago.
big deal back then.
So, but yeah, so I met Jason. And then when I got out of the military, the very first time I could afford Boost, I moved to Florida. And
What brought you to Florida, by the way? I don't even know that.
So two things. I transferred to MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa. To the Florida Air National Guard. And then also it was a little strategic because I couldn't stand the snow in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I'm a car guy, and I'm trying to get to work, and the car won't move in the ice. And then also Shauna's family had moved to Florida. Where'd
you meet Shauna?
In Texas.
Oh, okay.
So when we took off, you know, we married and all that stuff, our families took off. They didn't want to live in Texas anymore. They moved to Florida.
Oh, okay.
So her parents were in Florida while we were there. So that's why we came. It just made sense.
Yep.
Everything aligned, and it's the best move I ever made.
Yeah, Florida makes sense for most people, I think.
So, but yeah, so, you know, I got the race up there, and I started getting the bug, and it was a bolt-on car. So I was doing like the trick flow plenum and then the dense charger, but then that sucked. So I modified it. You know, you learn.
Right.
And then I started porting the plenum, and then you get into the headers, and I did BBK shorties, my first headers on that car. And then of course I learn, and then, you know, you do this, you break a clutch, you do that. And then it's the same thing that all the young guys are going through now when they do this stuff, same stuff. So, long story short, I moved to Florida, and it just escalated. I bought a supercharger from Jason.
Okay.
So I could barely afford the apartment we were in.
Right.
And I told my wife, I'm like, I got to make payments on this Central. And back then we didn't have apps.
Right. Yeah.
So I think I was sending him like money orders. I mean, because you trusted people, I guess.
Yeah.
He was a forum guy, right? So I'm sending him like $1,000.
And this went on a 2-valve?
Yes. It was a Vortec with a 3.33 pulley, 12 pounds of boost, non-intercooled, just a Vortec, and then a AFM power pipe, you know, that's all the same stuff, you know. But yeah, so that car made.
They actually ordered a tune from us last week.
Anderson?
Yeah, I was like, "What the hell?"
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
nobody's gonna know that name.
What a throwback! Yeah, they were huge back then.
N41,
I mean,
Cam, and all that.
And then Brian Kessner, who was a big time AFM guy, he works at UPR now. Did you know that?
Oh, I did not.
Yeah, he moved here like in the last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's so, you know, a lot of these names have been around, and it's funny because literally you brought up UPR and Bill.
Yeah.
Modular Depot, and then Jason came up, and then I mean I'm really affiliating with these people, and then Jason allowed me to like layaway. Yeah, that used to be a thing. That's what I did for that blower.
But he didn't give you the blower till after.
Yeah, right.
Till after.
And he shipped me a bunch of boxes, and then he helped me. Like, you know, it was cool. Like I was green, you know, and then before I did that, I had a Nitrous Express kit. 5233. I still remember the jets and all that. So we were doing the micro record stuff even back then. You know, I think Bill Putnam was the first cammed 2-valve to go 11s. I'm pretty sure. I was trying to be the first bolt-on 2-valve.
Yeah, I think he had a set because
VT1s.
I had the first set of billet camshafts. Okay, but I think he had reground camshafts, which is
well, he went 1190s and everybody lost their mind because it was a cam only. I think just a cam 2-valve.
Yeah, that was back in the day. Like they would grind a stock cam and then you had to put spacers in there,
shims and everything.
Yeah, and all that stuff.
I remember that.
When Comp came out with the cams, we're like, oh my god, I can't believe somebody's making cams for us.
I remember that now. That's funny that you're saying that. I remember that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there's a whole lot in between there, but I mean, that's the basics.
So then obviously you went from just getting your feet wet in performance to, you know, now
I started a business.
Now you live performance. So where did that, where was your first step? I mean, you were doing the shirts and things like that. But
I started a business called Modular Speed because I got so enamored, you know, I got so into it. I was ate up with it. I mean, and I think
were you still in the service at this point or no?
Yeah, I was doing I was in the Air National Guard, but then I got into where I was doing it like the weekend type, like the reserves type of thing. And then I started working for family, you know, my wife's family moved here, started businesses and stuff. So I worked for them a little bit. I was working like multiple jobs. So I was detailing cars, you know, at night. I was doing what I could do.
Finding your way.
Yeah. And I started Modular Speed. So that was where I just found this like void. I'm like, you know, somebody like needs to be on the forums. I was on all the forums. I was a sponsor, you know, I would have companies send me parts, you know, hey, put this on your car, whatever, on 3.
Yeah.
I was just slanging parts, you know, who knows where that would have been. I mean, cause you know, I got to a point where it was actually too overwhelming and I shut it down. I gave up.
Right.
I was in my mid to early 20s and it was overwhelming, you know.
People don't understand how crazy the parts business can be. I mean, that's how I got into this, because Modular Depot started out as a, you know, I was just throwing a website up just to throw a website up because I'm a computer guy, not because I was a car guy. And then I got Bill involved. He asked me to do he's like, you should do a forum. And I'm like, why? Everybody has forums. Why would they come here? And then it blew up. And then it was like, oh, wow, look, I can get, you know, after I got my first set of comp cams, I'm like, wait, I could buy these for this amount. I don't remember the numbers, and I can sell them for this amount.
Yeah.
I'm going to be rich, you know, because, you know, you don't, when you're young, you don't think about overhead and advertising and everything.
You just look at cost this much, sell this much.
I don't have to do anything. And I made $50. Holy shit. You know? So, you know, and the parts business, even to this day, is just like cutthroat and super difficult.
It was back then. Well, so what I thought back then was, I've always wanted to do things other people don't do. It's just me. It's weird. It's like, so even when I was doing the parts stuff, I was like, how can I be different? So, you know, I was porting intakes back in the short, you know, you did a short runner 4.6 intake. So there's a bunch of people that bought Modular Speed ported intakes, you know, and then, you know, and then I got to cutting them open. And then I hired a guy in the woods. Literally, this guy had a fab shop. I'd poured them all up, changed the runners around a little bit, kind of guesswork, but kind of, you know, using some knowledge too, right?
Right.
And then I'd pay him $50 to weld the lid back on, put a little serial number on it, and I'd ship it out. And then it got to where like it was a lot of work. You know, one person show, and then I was working my other jobs, and then something happened. So I built that website with like Dreamweaver or something. My mother taught me how to do all that at a young age, like make my own websites. And I've had a PayPal account since back then. It's the same one I use now, my business account.
That's crazy.
You know, what I'm getting at though is I started kind of getting bullied, like MMR.
Yep.
And I would like come out with something like, this sounds super cheesy, but I kind of like got like the cooling mods really popular. Like people would know back then, like a Modular Speed coolant crossover delete. You know, remember on the 4 valves where they had the big, so I was making like billet fittings with hoses for supercharger clearance and stuff.
Right.
Then I started selling them. And then, you know, I helped On3 really, you know, to this day, the picture on the On3 website might be my picture. I don't know. I'd have to look, but so I got into doing that stuff. Well, here comes Mark, MMR. Coolant deletes and stuff. And I'm like, man, and I'm young. So I got like, is this how this industry is going to be? You know, so then he ended up buying my website. I've told you that.
No, I didn't know he bought your website.
So I'm young, I'm busy, and I'm all over the place. Well, my mother used to take care of me. You know, I was young, and I guess she didn't renew my website.
Oh.
Boom, goes to MMR's website.
So he bought it somehow. He was sitting on it, and as soon as it expired, he bought it.
Yeah, and then that drove me out.
Yeah.
I cried.
Yeah.
I'm young. I was like, man, I built all this up. Like, that was my site. Like, that was my site.
That's pretty dirty.
And he owned it up until like a year or two ago. So if you go now, it'll say it's for sale or something.
Yeah.
But up until a couple of years ago, it went to his website.
Right.
Listen.
That's crazy.
I respect Mark for his hustle, you know, and going back to that, I was a customer of his. There used to be a guy named Chris that worked at MMR that I used to order parts from all the time. I was putting MMR engines in cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was a customer for a little bit. And then I started trying to get away from that, you know, and that's how I got in with Livernois. which I actually worked for a little while.
So that was technically your first performance job,
Was
not
for Livernois.
something that you were hustling with, but like just a regular job.
Yeah. And so, I got to meet those guys. Dan was racing back then, so I was super impressed. Here I am, this young, motivated, like car industry guy, and Dan's running like threes, I think, back then.
Yeah.
80RL.
80RL was 3-second territory for sure. Yeah.
And it's a long time ago. It's impressive though.
Yeah. I mean,
now we're freaking out over threes too, I know it's it's
totally different. To go threes back then is totally different than now. Now it's not easy.
Right.
It is if you have a shit ton of money. It's easy if you just go get a pro mod or something like that.
But you don't want to insult somebody's program. But back then though, I mean, it was so impressive back then. I think I don't want to misspeak here, but whoever in Qatar, wherever, Dubai, whatever, bought like his whole program, and I like had him tune it so they could race it over there, I think, or something.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
So he sold it to them though.
And you worked remotely for them?
Yeah, so I was doing like sales on the forums, and it was honestly it was tough because they run a tight ship. I mean, they have quotas and stuff. I'm not going to talk about everything, but and Dan and Tom to this day, I mean, I love those guys. I don't talk to Dan that much. I'll talk to Tom. But that's how I met Rick LeBlanc, Andy. I mean, those guys have been there forever. And that was a fun job.
I forgot that Rick worked there.
Yeah, Rick. Yeah, that's who I hung out with when I'd go up there. Yeah, so we're friends. He's hooked me up with Ford connection type stuff.
Yeah, he's really deep in it now.
Yeah, he is. So good for him. He's got a good setup. But so I worked for them for a little bit and learned a lot because here I am slinging parts and thinking like But that's how I met when I had Modular Speed, that business. That's how I met Justin Starkey. So I was selling like Modular Speed custom tunes, and I just order tunes from like VMP, and a SCT X2 maybe back then.
Probably.
And I'd be like, hey man, just add a little bit of timing to it, like or whatever,
Right.
And just hustling, man, just getting in the industry, meeting people, and but yeah, I worked for Livernois, and then that's when it didn't really work out because. Not saying I've always been motivated and stuff, but like, I just don't think at that time, an outside sales rep, that's kind of a big, that's for a speed shop. Like,
and I think remote work in general, I'm not a huge fan.
I mean, it did good. Like I had months that were really good, but they had these quotas, and I'm not going to talk about numbers, but it was pretty big numbers. Like they want their guys to sell engines and everything, high ticket items. And I might have hit the quota a few times, maybe. Right. But it was like, it just didn't align with what they wanted to do. There was no hard feelings. There was none of that. It was just, hey, it's not really. So then and I kind of knew that was coming. And then that's what led me to getting my job at BMR.
Yeah. Which, for anybody that's been around more than a few years, that's probably where they
most likely.
Yeah, that's where they know you from. The amount of people
that I dealt with there is mind staggering.
Right.
It's not even, it's so hard to fathom.
Yeah, I mean, I believe, I didn't really pay attention to the other markets that they were in, but you had to be the most active BMR employee by a large margin, even more active than their marketing guy, which doesn't make a lot of sense, right? The marketing guy should be the one that's out there constantly interacting with people, but like you almost acted as if you were like
I worked around the clock,
part owner.
Honestly, I worked around the clock.
You treated BMR as if it was your company, which is always a good thing for an employee to do. Yeah, and Al was really lucky there. So, yeah,
I mean, I worked at during those times. It was tough on me. Yeah, I had like young kids. I had a wife, and I got a split. It's like I was so like motivated and stuff, and my wife's a saint, but it was like, okay, the family's done and they're going to bed. I'm working again. That was for 10 years. It was like 10 p.m. to 1 or 2 a.m. I'm working and going to school. Like.
And I think there's a good lesson in your BMR thing, and I didn't talk to you too much in the beginning of BMR. I don't think it wasn't until the S550 stuff
2014
that reconnected us.
We were at the track and you jokingly said, "How's your car running?" Because you knew it wasn't running, and you were working on Evo's car. I think you guys were under the hood of a centrifugal blower car. It had to be Evolution. because they were the only. I mean, remember there was only like 3 of us at the time, and I was the only one that didn't have a running one.
Either that or was it?
It was red or orange or something.
Okay. Yeah. I have a really bad.
You guys
memory
were
when it
at the
comes to that
BMP.
stuff. At BMP,
and you looked up and you're like, "Hey, Kelly, how's your car running?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whatever, dude." And then you go, "We can figure it out." And I said, "No, you can't." And you go, "No, we can." And then you turn back around and you're working. I'm like,
and you were like,
maybe they can.
And you were like, I've already had 3 people touch it.
People in.
Yeah. And I'm like, all you got to do is bring it to me.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And it worked.
Yep. It worked out well.
It worked. I mean, you know, I have 0 regrets on that whole thing. It was, that was actually a really fun time. And, you know, I talk to people because we're so jaded now. Mm-hmm. People buy these cars and they tear them apart. Whistling Diesel or whatever. I still don't know really who that is, but I know because today I was hanging out with Ferrari.
Did you see the Mustang video?
They don't like, no.
Oh, he just came out with a Mustang video.
But the Ferrari topic came up today. And
oh, yeah,
did that make them mad?
Oh,
because that was a hot topic. That was a sketch. That was a weird topic.
They get
today.
really mad about everything.
Yeah. He cut stuff off, I heard.
Dude, he freaking... I don't really like the guy. I don't hate him, though.
Right.
And I do watch his videos because... he literally does just shit. You're like
ZFG, like just doesn't care.
Like really crazy shit. Like, you know,
good for him, though.
Like,
you know,
he had the Ferrari and I forget exactly what he'll do is he'll just like ruin cars, like just run them into things. And like, he was like,
drama sells, I guess, right?
I forget exact. Oh, it probably was it was either the exhaust or the brakes, but then he has the Ferrari and he was doing something with it and it was like super, super hot. And then he goes through this field and it catches on fire because of the brush was dry and the whole thing burned down. Like I don't think he really intended to burn it down.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many things he's done. And then he just bought a Mustang or had a Mustang, whatever, like S550 and was trying to he just does stupid shit with it, you know, constantly. But what the point I wanted to bring up was, on your BMR journey, I think there's a lot to be learned there for a lot of people as far as making the best of an opportunity. Right. Like, I'm assuming when you got hired there, you didn't have some resume. You know, you worked at Livernois. That was your only other job before that. So it wasn't like you were some like great find, or at least they didn't know you were a great find. Right. And you just got hired as a sales guy, right?
Yeah. And just for a Mustang tech.
A Mustang tech, right? Like there's been tons of those people you've never even known their name that work there. They last weeks, months, things like that. So you were the same guy as that. And then throughout your career there, you really, from being a insane company rep to helping design parts or designing parts to even helping to launch whole new segments, right?
Yeah.
You know, when you started there, when did you start there? What year was it? Do you remember?
It was 2010, we'll call it.
Right. I just don't remember before Coyote, right?
Yeah, Coyote was kind of like the thing.
It was coming.
I almost think that
that's interesting. I didn't realize that. That's the same exact year I moved to Florida. So
yeah. So it was almost as if Al, which, you know, I have the utmost respect. You know, I like Al. He's a great business guy. He's runs a tight ship. Everybody has their own opinions of people. It's rare that you work for somebody for a long time and you love them. But, you know, I don't love him, but we get along and we have the same alignment with a lot of things. And then some things I think he's crazy.
Right.
But he makes the right decisions most of the time. But anyway, so what I was going to say is around that time they had just... It's ironic because he got his 2011 Coyote Mustang, and I was hired within within 6 months. It was all kind of at the same kind of time. So I think he had a plan to build the Ford segment, is what I'm saying.
But before then, they weren't doing any Ford or barely any.
So no, they made a splash. So the way that BMR got on the Ford map was when the 3 valves came out.
Okay.
They had like turbo cars before anybody else. You can look it up. I mean, they were so early on. They had an 8-second radial tire car in 05.
Oh, wow.
So
I think I remember
it's
that.
It's old school. Donald Long ended up getting it and Puddin raced it and stuff.
Oh, that was a BMR car?
Yeah.
The Puddin car? The blue...
I think it was that one, or I don't remember the history, but BMR 100%, you can look it up. They went 8s on a radial back in 05. Oh, but, you know...
Simon's over here coughing.
I love that dog. He is so cool. But so that
So how did that work? Did you feel like you had to kind of push your way into like getting more and more responsibility, or do you think it was kind of like organic, like Al saw potential in you and
I
asked
can
you?
tell you exactly why. So what happened is I'm a numbers guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a money guy. I'm a numbers guy. That's why I do all my testing. You know,
Right, yeah.
it's like I just love to see results. They hired me. There's two primary things. He wanted to grow his Ford segment. He took me out to lunch on my interview and he said, I want to grow the Ford segment. And they didn't have a guy. I think somebody left, was a Ford guy there or whatever, was the Ford tech. And he said, but some of the guys at the magazines said that you're really good with 79 to 04 stuff. So at this time, I was still messing with Cobras.
Mm-hmm.
I hated the 3.5 cars.
Right,
I was like, never. So I had 04 Cobras, 98 Cobras, turbo cars, 4R70, all the, the whole recipes. And that's why he really brought me on board. He wanted me to help develop, promote, develop, sell, whatever, 79 to 04 stuff. Mm. The problem is I got in and we just took off on S197, dude. It was like the timing with the Coyote.
Yeah.
I had all this forum presence, and I'm not going to brag, but I will tell you that back then, like I dominated all the forums for BMR.
Right.
I was everywhere. SVT Performance. Nobody was to be found.
Right.
Nothing against Steeda.
Right.
They weren't even a thing on social media until the S550 came out.
Right.
To be honest, they probably don't even understand how big we were in S197. Right. I don't think anybody does. The numbers are staggering. I mean, you could probably remember. There was a time where it was like BMR.
Yeah, I remember when I really started first hearing about you guys, and in my mind, and this may not have been accurate, but I was like, oh, these GM guys are getting into...
Everybody thought that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, back then, UPR probably was the most popular. Ford.
Steeda, UPR. Steeda's always been a Ford name.
So. Yeah, but from suspension specifically, like everybody, at least in my circles, ran like UPR control arms, UPR
They've always sponsored racers and just been there. And they've been at races for years.
And then BMR popped up and I'm like, who are these GM guys? Right. Well, that looks like pretty nice stuff, you know, and then it just started escalating from there.
Mm-hmm. I was super impressed when I started at BMR. I just want to, for the record, when I saw the amount of effort that went into doing this stuff, like BMR's become so big now that I crack up because I see comments all the time about they're just knockoffs. People say that, but all the time because they're so big. They're such a well-known name, and there's these little things that have happened. But when I started there, keep in mind I was a part slinging guy and building my cars. I used the PA Racing, I used all these parts on my own cars. And then when I started at BMR and I saw that they were developing everything from scratch, I was like, companies really do that? Because back in the day, man, all the K members were all copies of everyone.
Yeah.
It was like one company would make them and they all copied.
Yeah, and that's something that's super important to me. I've never actually been to BMR, but I'm familiar with it. I've seen pictures and videos from there. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody that does private labeling or just has other people manufacture.
Right.
Because I do that, you do that,
Absolutely.
So not everybody can have a 20, 30, 40,000, 50,000 square foot facility with every machine and all these employees. Yeah. But the BMR does that. Yeah. And, long term, that's the best possible strategy, I think, for a company like that. Because you're building something that, like, if you're XYZ suspension and like some random welder is welding your shit and he gets a better job and goes, hey, I can't do your shit anymore. It's like, now what? Because companies deal with that all the time, but Al, I know he's outsourced some parts of the things, but he continues to insource, right? Yeah. Didn't he buy a laser company?
Yeah, he bought Tampa Bay Laser.
Right.
We were such a big customer of theirs. Why don't I buy you?
Yeah, exactly.
He's added CNC. He's added the laser cutting. What's funny is BMR has always been really picky with the powder coat.
Right.
And so, like when I say earlier when I said for the record, like there's a lot of things that are so impressive, and I haven't been there in a long time. But so here's an example. BMR's theory is to have function and form. Some of their parts are very pretty. Like you look at them, you're like, wow, that designer Brett is good, you know?
Right.
But the other thing is, and you've opened a bunch of BMR parts, they never have like slag.
They're super clean.
Smooth. The
Yeah.
welds look like robotic. What they do is they make all these parts and they have different segments where they go through. They have the sandblasting, then they go through the chipping. So anything that's rough on the part, they chip it manually.
Oh, wow.
And it goes back through, and then they treat it, and then they coat it. But they've been doing that before UPR, Stida, any of these other companies. They weren't even powder coating their parts, because I used to use that against. I'd be like, we got the best coating, period. We're not going to have those rust problems, you know. And to this day, I see some of those brands with rusty parts online, people complaining, you know.
Yeah, and you may not know the answer to this, but I don't. That's why I'm asking you. You had a better chance at knowing. Like, so I know Stida is a very big company. How do they handle? Do you have any idea how they handle their manufacturing? Do they have a facility like BMR?
So they, you know, and I'm sure somebody from Stida or Scott will watch this. They've got a pretty large facility in Georgia. For a while, they were running out of Pompano or down here somewhere.
They just closed that,
and they were there. But that is primarily their manufacturing up there. What I will tell you is there's a lot of empty space, but I think they were building for the future. I mean, it's a big, big place up there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna shoot from the hip here because I don't know exactly, but I'll just give you an example. When you go into BMR, there's probably 20-ish welding stations with 20 people welding nonstop.
Right.
I would say at Stida, you know, there's maybe 3 or 4, maybe. I would say and again, I could be way off, but like anything I've ever seen from there, I mean, there's only a handful, but Stida does a lot of machining. So a lot of times, I'll give you a good example people watching can relate to the vertical link on an S550 that connects like the top of the knuckle to the lower control arm, the link. BMR offers like a $80 steel powder coated one with poly bushings. And, you know, and they do have billet too, but Stida has the billet, you know.
So they trend towards more
machining,
billet machining than
and
fabrication.
BMR is a true, the first name of BMR was BMR Fabrication Incorporated. BMR Fabrication. Then around the time I was there, that's when Al was really trying to transition everything to suspension. You know, the new website came and all that stuff. So, but back to the BMR thing is, you know, they really like thrive on like that whole like experience of the customer getting the part and saying, wow, this is actually a really nice part.
Right.
You know, and I see a lot of companies' parts online and I'm like, it can be deceiving though. I'm not saying that means it's a better part, but when you get a part that has that much thought and attention to detail, then it's typically a really good part.
Well, I think that's very important. You can compare that to like the electronics business, right? You can get a piece of electronics that's in a white box that's like wrapped in newspaper. And at the end of the day, it's the same piece of electronics. But when it comes in a nice box
custom
that
suede
opens
feeling
up and it looks a certain way, it shows you that the company cares like about the whole experience. So it's kind of the same thing. We're talking about the part in BMR's case, that the part itself is just visually good looking. Like somebody else might be able to make a part that's functionally exactly the same, but if it's not coated the same quality and the welds aren't the same quality and just little things aren't exactly the same, it makes a difference. Because even if you don't need to do that, the fact that BMR does it shows you like, man, these guys are like really trying here. They're not just phoning it in. So I think one of your biggest assets is your being detail oriented, and it's not on everything in your life, but real specifically when we're talking about performance. So like, you know, fast forwarding a little bit, obviously we're going to get to Kelltrac and spend a lot of time on that, but like, you know, you started this new YouTube channel called Mr. Dragy, right? And people, I think that what you do on that channel is a good look inside what it takes to be successful that top 5%, I guess I'd say, right?
Yeah.
So a good example is like Coyote stock. You take a bunch of Coyote engines and give them to 20 different people, and some of them are going to be a second faster than the other with the same motor and tune. How the hell does that happen?
Yeah.
Well, that's how you operate. You would be one of the faster guys.
Right.
You're looking at every little detail, right? Because you're talking about thousandths of a second.
Yeah.
So like the littlest thing that you may not understand. I mean, a good example is your Viper. You know, I think you were power shifting it and then realized, well, actually speed shifting it, or you were, whatever terminology you want to use.
Right.
Power shifting.
No, well, so the problem with that one is I wasn't timing the shift on a concrete patch, and it was hazing the tires, and I was losing 0.2.
Right. Yeah. Things like that.
Normal people. So what was happening is people would judge me online because I posted. Remember, I couldn't get into the 5s.
Yeah.
So I posted my 6.0. I kept on going 6.0s, and everybody's like, "Cause your shift sucks." I don't have time to go, well, actually, when I shifted good, it would haze the tires, and that I don't have time for that.
Right.
But the channel shows that.
Right.
Yep. It actually shows it. So then I got to where it took a while because that car has real long gears.
Yep.
And I was timing the shift right on the concrete, and then boom, just a power shift, speed shift, whatever. No lift shift. That's what they call it now.
Yeah.
Just a boom. And it took a couple, and even then it took a couple times because that rev limiter is at 7,000, and you're like, again, it's attention to detail. Yeah. You're like, third time's the charm, and I hit it right before that hit. You know, I revved it. Here's the thing. When I talk to you, and we've talked a lot over the years, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. When I've been out logging at 10 p.m. and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And you're like, well, how are you going to do that? Because you always ask me when I say I'm going to do something.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to try to get it to shift to like 200 more RPM. That's a huge difference.
Right. Well, and the Viper's NA, and that's a good time to bring it up, is I think that's what breeds that type of mentality. I mean, you have to be that kind of person to begin with, but that's where that mentality really comes
Average
from.
Power,
because,
RPM. Yeah.
You know, I have that same type of personality, although I don't feel like I take advantage of it as much as I used to, because I'm a hardcore big power guy now. Yeah. And to me, and this is bad, I'm not saying it's good. To me, I'm just like, oh, I'll just add a pound of boost, or I'll just do this, or I'll do that. It's like, but
I've seen you get more that way over the years.
Yeah, because it's easy. Yeah. Right. But I value the time I did spend in NA racing and trying to make NA stuff fast, because I can always pull on that experience and going like, you know, what exactly is going on here, and look at the really super fine details. And you know, you're doing a good job when people don't believe you. Right. Like, because, there's no way you did that. There's no way, you know, like this, like everything that's kind of going on with the S650 and like people just not believing things. And it's like, here it is.
We're in a weird world too, where like people are more apt to not believe it than to believe it.
Yeah. And that's
even when it's people that are proven, like, you know, like, I would like to talk, if we get a few minutes, about when I pushed the S550 early on. And then you were like, give it a rest. You met your goal. I remember, you probably don't remember that, but I was all on cloud 9 because I was chasing that 8, you know, and you were like, you did it. So just, you know, regroup now. Because remember, I was going to the track constantly.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that right now. Like, so you got the S650, and I remember
550. Are we talking about blue
550,
balls?
550 blue balls. And at that time we were not, it wasn't, we weren't friends. We just didn't talk, you know? And I remember you posting and like posting pictures, and I'm going to be
race brakes and suspension,
and I'm going to be the fastest
axles, and I'm going
to making all these claims ahead of time. And I was paying attention to that, because I'm like, let's see, like, you know, let's see how this works out. And, you know, you had some tuning. Everybody had tuning issues. For those of you guys that don't know, when the S650 came out, they changed a shit ton of sensors. You know, like the throttle was
S550.
Keep saying 650.
Well, yeah, because it's all about this.
S550. 2015 Mustang came out. Everything was different. The IAT sensors,
the tables were like larger, like they had more tables and everything.
It was way more complex. The throttle was the big issue. That's what you ran into. You know, that was a VMP blower that we were using at the time.
GT500 style throttle body with the...
Yeah, so at that point, there is no GT500, right? So there's no 2015 GT500 throttle body, so we're trying to use an 11 to 14 GT500 throttle body or anything from 11 to 14, and it wouldn't work. And it was like, for the entire life of electronic throttle bodies in Ford at that point, they always used the same exact shit. The electronics were the same. So it was, you could just switch between whatever you wanted. So now all of a sudden it's like, why we didn't know why it wasn't working, but it wasn't working.
Right.
And then because none of the tables that were needed to address that or even defined in the software,
Right.
because, you know, if you have 2,000 parameters in shit, we probably weren't even using HV tuners back then, I'm guessing. I can't remember. It's probably SCT. You know, if you got 2,000 parameters defined, there's actually 20,000. So like, why would they put in the slope of a throttle position sensor when you never have to change that? They're not gonna. So then you go and tune it, you know. When we were working through all that, I remember talking to another tuner and I was like, well, what are you using to tune it? And they're like, SCT. And I'm like, well, it's never going to work. Because, you know, you're working within a closed environment. So you're only seeing what SCT wants you to see. You have to be able to get to that background stuff when something new comes out. And that's why when you were having the problems, I was like, just bring it to me, because I knew we had the advantage of being able to dig way deeper. And I didn't know exactly what other people knew, because you don't want to ask everybody, because you don't want them to know that there's something that they don't know. You know? And it's weird how competitive things can be.
It's very competitive, because I remember we had kind of like not rekindled or whatever, but like that's when we started talking a lot. And I remember you messaging me, because we were still like, we weren't like, hey buddy, it was kind of business, right? And you were like, if anybody plugs into that car, you're like, you'll probably die. It's that serious. Like, you were like, really? Like, and I was like, same Ken. From 2004 or 3, whatever.
Well, and to be clear to people, you know, partially that's just probably my personality, but, you know, I always try to tip my hat to who's really in charge of all this. And that's Jerry, right? Our very first, that's why he was the very first person in this podcast. And that's because, did Ken figure out how to tune your car? Somewhat, but not without Jerry's help, right? Without Jerry's help, I probably could have figured it out, but not as quickly as I figured it out. I think we were making dyno pulls within a week. And then I went to the track.
Yeah, I was at Disney.
I think I went to the track with it. Yeah, just take it to the track.
You
I
went
think
10s
like 10-0 or 10-1 or something like that. And that was fast, obviously.
I was literally like holding my daughter like on a ride at Disney. And I'm like, oh, I was like yelling. I was like, babe, look at this. I mean, it was like the best feeling, because like, I remember when I posted the dyno video and people lost their minds. They're like, a PD blower is actually going wide open throttle?
Yeah.
Because they were just going into limp mode. Like, nobody...
Yeah, I mean, it was months.
I'm pretty sure, like, you guys used my car. I mean, I remember taking your car.
It was
Jim Braun and I went over there.
Oh, I didn't remember.
He took me. We unloaded it, and it had, like, all these badass parts on it. And I'm like, can't use it. And we unloaded it. And, yeah, I mean, it was a big thing. Like, when you guys teased that dyno picture, it made like 757 or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And it was like, everybody's like, oh my God, it's figured out. I'm not saying, or maybe it is. Maybe you guys used that car, but I remember taking you the car and I said, guys, don't message me until you make a pass with it. Cause I didn't even want it I didn't want that car back until I knew I could go out and beat on it.
Yep.
I didn't want it.
Yep. No, we figured it out. Well,
I know you had others, whatever.
That was the car we figured it out with that we had our hands on.
Yeah.
But I was working with Jerry, and Jerry probably was helping Kenny Bell. He was super tight with Kenny Bell, so he was probably trying to help Kenny Bell figure out the same exact issue. You know, so that's kind of. But as far as, you know, car that I had my hands on, it was your car that we were using for that, because you were the first one to really have one built up like that. You know?
Yeah, back to my comment a little bit ago. I was saying it's 2024, and we were talking about whistling diesel.
Yeah.
But back in 14, there wasn't a lot of people doing what I was doing. That was what I was getting at.
Right.
I was that idiot that bought a brand new car that nobody knew about, and I'm calling aerospace, hey, work with me on brakes. Shaft masters, hey, work with every part on that car. When you got it, was me working with them like billet specialties. They didn't even have a wheel for 2 years for it, because they used... I'm not bragging. I'm saying but those are the experiences. But that's the same reason why now I'll get a blower before somebody. You know.
Well,
so
that's kind of, you know, and I work super close with Whipple, and and that's, people always, I hate when I hear people go like, why are you getting that?
Mhm.
Why? It's like, dude, for 20 years, I've been helping these people and now they're helping me.
But people don't understand that.
You know, yeah.
People have no idea. We could talk about like the blue car.
Right.
But nobody even knows, because you know, you do these things and you work through them, and then you build and you grow and you get into another car.
Mm-hmm.
If I went out there right now and I told the world on forums like, yeah, I had the first 8-second supercharged S550, you know, it's like people would be like, oh, yeah, like the people that are still in it know. But I'm saying, like, that was a lot of work. Remember how much work that was to get the car to shift right and everything?
Insanity. And the problem is, you know, you just become a byproduct of progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes,
because it's like, we were the first 8-second S550.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not that fast.
No.
Well, not now, it's not, but in 2015,
it was a big deal that I drove to the track.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
When I did that, I had magazines and stuff. You drove from your house in Tampa to Bradenton and ran at 8 and drove home? Yeah.
You know, and back then
now it's like,
we didn't
it's
have
we
didn't have the resources we had.
Yeah.
Beyond the car being new, we didn't have as advanced data. It was possible back then, but we weren't doing as finite logging of every
not
little
as much
thing.
was figured out.
Yeah, like back then when we were tuning something, I'd be more like, oh, I don't know, like let's try this, let's try that. Now, for the most part, you know, these guys come to me, hey, this car is doing this or that. Oh, okay. You know, and it's done. You know, like I know exactly how it works now. I know exactly what the log. I know how to fix almost every single problem.
Troubleshooting.
Yeah. But back then, it's like I could know what's wrong with it, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't even know the right shit to log back then. You know, it was way more. I mean, every generation was like that, you know, like obviously. And then the problem is when every new thing comes out, like the rules change a little bit, you know, like 11 to 14 is very, very different than S550 because of all the new shit they added. They moved the cams and all kinds of stuff. So to look back on that, and it would be like going an 8 that quickly with that car would be like going 7s right now with an S650. Nobody's doing that. Yeah. You know?
Well, let's talk about, since you're talking about the advancements in the 11 to 14, this is a really cool topic. So because I was one of the few people pushing them at that time, we had RPM advantage, remember? So remember how big the blower drama world, the TVS?
Oh, yeah.
Trying to be the first to the 8s. Yeah. Nick Boley, you know?
Yeah.
And here I am coming along and I'm like, I got a 2.3 TVS, but I can spin it to, what were we shifting? 83. Remember?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Remember, that was before patches.
Yeah.
So here I come and all these guys have S197s.
Yep.
And I'm like, hey, I got the same combo. I'm a little heavier, but I can spend to 8,300.
Yeah.
Like, and they're stuck to 74? No.
Yeah, like back then. Well, the problem was it wasn't really like a limiter. It was more, it would vary car to car.
Yes, it was like inconsistent.
It would just,
one would be 77, one would be like 74.
Yeah, like
one would be 79.
My 2011.
Nobody could go 8+ though at all.
No, not even close. Like 76.
That's what I'm saying. So here I am, almost 1,000 more RPM.
Yeah.
So that's what your comment about the nitrous earlier.
Yeah.
People or people not believing you.
Yep.
Everybody, you're spraying nitrous. Well, I had nitrous on the car, remember?
Yeah.
It just didn't work out right.
Right.
So then I just did a 63 upper, 15 lower, and then I kept on begging you for timing and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'm like, kid, come on. We kept going 9.0s. So, you know, but I got threat, dude. Like when we posted that video, everybody, you're spraying. And it was so hard to get people to believe you because I did spray at Kentucky when I broke the diff and all that. Remember that?
Right.
I had spray on the car going mid-9s, but I was on a big upper and stuff. Because my theory was it was stock converter and it was going to 60 foot better because I didn't know because we didn't spin it so hard.
Well, and it just shows you how times haven't changed because people are like, if I can't do it, then you must be cheating. Yeah. That's the mentality of a small-minded person, at least. Like, it's like, well, how about maybe you just look closer at what I'm doing and maybe see between the lines and like how we're getting there and look at the time slip. And, you know, I love when people call you out on shit like that, and they don't even know how to read a time slip.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
They have no idea.
Yeah. What do you, where, do you see anything in this time slip that indicates it has nitrous on it?
Yeah.
Do you know how much power does it take for that time slip? How much power did I say I made?
That's the problem.
You know,
people don't know.
Yeah. They don't know
where
any
we
of that.
we can rattle it out, you know, like,
yeah, it's like, it all adds up to
this
me.
power at this weight to go this speed.
Yeah.
154, boom, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and this was well before your trans was priced. Was it stock
converter and trans?
Yeah, stock converter.
And people still don't believe that to this day. The OG guys.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll be like, you posted that you had a converter, but I never used it. Remember I had that pink one? And you're like, don't put that in.
Yeah, it was a PI or something like that. I'm like, don't.
You wouldn't even let me put it on.
Yeah.
And I tell people that, they're like, oh, sure.
Yeah.
But because I made that mistake of posting it, people think I have it, just like I had nitrous on the car. Well, you went 8s to do it. And it's like, well, I didn't. And I'm so transparent. That's why I did the Mr. Dragy channel. Mm-hmm. So now I have a journal because I've done all these things and I can't go back to it now. It sucks.
That's the best thing about YouTube to me. I mean, people ask me about it all the time and like, it's a lot of time and effort. And I'm like, it is, but beyond promoting my business, I like it for a journal. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, what did Coffee Man's car run back in the day? Yep. I don't even remember. Boop, boop, get on YouTube. It's not on my YouTube channel, but get on YouTube, find it, and go, wow, what 860s with that thing? Yeah. Like, I can't believe that car went 860s. Yeah. You know, and I had a Pro Charger and nitrous on top. But so it's a good like this podcast, mm-hmm. right? Like, you know, I hope people are enjoying it now, but another 5 or 10 years from now, when things keep getting bigger and better, mm-hmm. hopefully with the performance world, we can look back on this stuff and go, hey, remember when, you know, we don't have that.
Or we didn't know this when we were talking about that or whatever. Yeah.
So, you know, you had the S6, mm-hmm. the S550, went the 8s.
Yeah. Then I did the build that I drove over here at night. Remember the big fancy engine. Yeah. And then I had converted from a TVS to a Whipple.
Yeah, kind of went
I was going to go set the world on fire. And this is actually a good topic. You always make the comment that I'm not the type of person that can handle like breaking and fixing and breaking. And you're right.
Right.
Because of my whole like opportunity cost outlook and the business and because you know, that's a really good topic, actually. Like Anthony Ballard. When he was trying to push the 6R80, you know, I'm not going to bring up personal stuff, but I'll just say this. Like, when I look at somebody that is so obsessed with, like, setting a goal or doing that, and they spend, like, so much money to do it and so much time, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I could have in the past. I did that stuff. But these days, like even back then, like when that engine, that was I listened to everybody. I spent the most on the headers that I had to modify to fit. I did the best this. I did this. I did all these parts and I had this perfect vision mm-hmm. and it failed within 5 dyno pulls.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was just, dude, I was crying on the way home.
Yeah.
I put my life into like that build for me was my first sleeved. If you think about it, like that build was before a lot of these builds. Mm-hmm. Remember? I did a sleeved 5.2 block.
Yeah.
Billet mains.
Yeah.
CNC heads. I mean, it was the biggest can. Like.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to point out like differences in personalities and how they fit in, because the reason you were so let down is because you put so much time and effort into the planning and all like thinking through it. Yeah. So your goal is to bring it here, dyno it, make 1 million horsepower, go run a time, and woo! And it's like, I don't do that. Right. Like, I'm not that person, probably because I'm more of a wing it type of personality. Right. And then, like, instead of, like, if I have to clean this room, right? Like, my wife will go and clean every square inch of the room and work her way through it meticulously until it's clean. I'll clean it 3 times. I'm a revisionist, I call it, right? Like, get all the big shit out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm going to go back again
do what makes sense.
Clean all the tabletops. And then I'm going to go back. And then instead she's, you know, stepping through it meticulously like you, where I'm more of a, let's just get close, see what happens, and then dial it in. So like, and I think that's probably partly why we don't always see eye to eye on sticking with something because
Right.
I almost approach it as if I know that's going to happen.
Yes.
Right. Because
I approach it like it's not supposed to happen because my plan didn't say it was.
exactly,
Yeah.
you know, and both ways are neither way is right or wrong.
Right.
Your way, if it works out, is way cheaper and faster because you're only doing it once and you're doing it right and it's done.
Right.
Whereas I'm,
Right.
yeah. Whereas I'm like, I don't think this is going
Right.
to work, but at least I'll see what we get. And then I'll make some changes from there. So, you know, for most people, I guess the difference is since I do this for a business and you do too, but since not,
but that part's not
not
important.
that same type of business.
Yeah.
Whereas, I can justify wasting money on multiple revisions. So my customer can just, here's what you need.
Yeah.
You need these 12 parts, put them on your car. I'll give you a
learn
tune
it.
and you're good.
Trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So obviously, and then, so at that point, you got rid of that car.
Yeah. Sold as a roller.
Well, let's back up a little bit because we didn't really even talk about suspension on that car.
Yeah.
So was that car used? Because, you know, you're talking about the first IRS Mustang. I remember when that car came out, actually, and just the same thing that happened in 2011 when we had a high compression Coyote. We're like, well, game over.
Yeah.
Can't run boost on 11 to 1
so
compression.
this was with the IRS.
So now all of a sudden it's like,
it's gonna suck at drag racing. Ford ruined us.
Who wants that shit?
Yeah.
You know, like you
I remember that.
Launch that
Here
car.
I am with the 04 Cobra that was pretty fast, and I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?" Like I was out there going, "No, this car's gonna be awesome."
Yeah.
Just like now, I'm saying that with an S650.
Yeah.
But
so how important was that car? Or
super
to development of parts for BMR and
my knowledge,
long-term your knowledge.
Yeah, it was super important. That's when so I had been using Viking on some rear shock stuff well before that car. That some old Viking ads have my Cobra, you know, just little things. So, you know, I've always been a big suspension guy and trying to learn and like make it work the best it can and all this stuff. Well, I think that tire technology is a big thing too, because that's when those R radials started getting popular and stuff. And dude, like the first time I went 1294 or something 60 foot, the car just had like BMR springs on the front and back with prototype parts with Viking shocks and, you know, alignment.
Right.
Now I have experience with IRS stuff a lot before that car. So I came out of the gate with alignment recommendations for everybody.
And like, this was from the Cobra or other?
Yeah, from the Cobra. Yeah, and just and BMR GM.
Yep.
I was, you know, like,
that's true. Yeah.
IRS. They were doing IRS first. So like, and I was helping GM customers when I was there too. I wasn't just doing, you know, but my point is like I learned a lot on that car. I did different alignments. I would change my alignment myself, and then I would test and then do all this stuff. But the moment that I started going like 1.2s, I was like, I'm not even putting effort into this thing. I mean, it had a lot of development parts, but that's when I was learning about, like when I took the car all the way up to Bowling Green and broke the diff when Power by the Hour helped me swap it out and all that. That was just a miracle that the cars were still new.
Yeah.
And we found a diff.
Yeah.
London Chassis Dyno, I think, had one. But my point is, you know, that car was paramount because I'll give you an example. We actually decided to not release those diff inserts because when I got back, I called a meeting with Alan. I said, I think our part caused my diff ears to snap off. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I got this like, so we started loading things up and we were looking over and doing this and doing that. And sure enough, we delayed our diff bushing insert. You know, the little pucks that people, but I figured that I was the guy, right? The guinea pig. I'm using prototype parts and breaking parts, and I'm how many 1,500 miles away or whatever, you know. And I'm like,
no, I remember, and I think people don't realize how critical that type of work is, and how obvious it is when somebody's not putting that work in, right? Because companies, like a good example is the white car, the white turbo car, Jimmy's car that we were the first in the sevens with.
Won the 6R80 shootout.
Yeah, and that car was successful in a big part to you because you know, people ask me all the time, what should I set my shocks on? I don't know. Ask Kelly. Like, well, don't you race? Yeah, I asked Kelly.
Yeah.
You know, and that car,
You guys just said it. You
partially
did the
because
parts
of what
that
you
Jimmy
did
got. Yeah, and it was like
you're like, just do this, and
it went low 1-2s, and way before,
and I never touched it. Yeah. Like literally, people are like, "Where are the shocks at?" Wherever we set them when we built the car, that's what Kelly tells us to start, and it's never spun.
Yeah,
ever.
I remember. You told me after Mod Nats you won or something, and you were like, "That I just thought about it. This car's never spun a tire."
Yep.
But that was pretty early on too. That wasn't too. I mean, that was.
Yeah, I'm bad with the years. I think that was like 2018, maybe.
Yeah,
2017,
18. Yeah. So
you know.
But that car's proven to work really good, drag racing.
Yeah.
It's a strength thing. To get into it, the weakness of that, there's two things going on. So one thing is on that car, on a mediocre track, you can't plant the tire.
Right.
You can't separate it.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just say it. Ultimately, a straight axle should do better.
Yeah. If you're going to if you want to race.
If you're a race car.
Not a micro record, not a test and tune. If you want to race.
Yep.
It's kind of a no-brainer, honestly. Anybody that's swapped will tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I'm tuning Cristino's car remotely. Mm-hmm. He's at NMRA this weekend, and he did the rear end swapping.
Yeah, he has a solid axle.
He has a solid axle now. Plus, you can run much cooler wheels.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
His car looks so sick.
It does. It looks good.
Yeah. But people ask, like, why would you do that? Blah, blah, blah. Right. It's like, there's a big difference between being a test and tuner, which I'm a test and tuner a lot of the times.
I'm a test and tuner.
And being a test and tuner and going out and going, everything worked perfectly. Wade just prepped the track, and I just went a 119/60 foot to showing up to some bullshit track with friggin' 180.
What was that track up in the Midwest that when the sun was out, it never hooked? Was it Chicago or
Joliet?
Joliet.
Yeah.
When the sun was over the top of that, it was greasy, never hooked.
Yep. So, that's what people don't get. And that's what bothers me is the internet guys that just repeat things that are like, it's not the rule. Right. It's the exception, right? Yeah. Like I just saw some guy posted a fully billet MMR motor with everything, blah, 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 brand new, never run, $50,000, right? And some guy responds like, oh, that's the easy button for sixes. And some guy's like, you don't need a billet block to go sixes. You don't even need a billet block to go 620s. Because one guy has done it, right? Like that's the rule. Like all of a sudden it's easy to run 620s, right? Well, where is everybody doing it? Yeah. Brett is the time in. Probably a similar personality to yours where he's super obsessed with the details and understanding, like no matter how good he does, he looks at it and go, oh, I got a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. But it's like, it's not like, the statement
it's not a recipe yet.
The statement of that being the recipe for easy sixes is 100% true, right? And sixes are never easy. They become much easier. Yeah. But as far as the engine goes, that should definitely get you in the sixes if you get the rest of the car right. Whereas if you try that with a stock block, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Yeah. Maybe only if FFRE builds your engine or TCAN builds your engine or certain, so. That's my biggest problem with the internet nowadays. People take these little anomalies, I'd call them, and now all of a sudden that becomes the new standard. Yep. And it's like, dude, you have no idea how difficult any of this stuff is. Sure. People just think the minute one person does it, then everybody can do it. And that's not the case.
Yeah. And I have that. So two things that I deal with to this day, daily, and I'm not exaggerating, would be people compare their cars to like Cody Rogers. Mm-hmm. Hey man, can I go 113? It's been done. I'm not going to say you can do it.
Right.
With the first gear leaf 6R80. Right. I don't want to do the hub and all that stuff.
Right.
And I tell them, I'm like, it can be done. Or like when you were tuning, you've tuned a couple cars that I've made really fast that were simple combos, but the orange GT500, people would blow me up. Man, I got 2 more mods than you have, and I haven't been as fast as you're going. But I hate it because then it's like it's a weird conversation, because it's like, well, I didn't want to. I can talk about it, I don't care, but like my tunes sometimes in some scenarios are going to be more aggressive.
Yeah,
you got to admit it. Like, or I'll be the guy that runs, pulleys up on a tune I shouldn't because I want to go fast. Like,
but you gotta have the right personality for that.
Right.
Because that happens to me all the time. Right. I get a lot of F-150 guys. I got one truck. I'm not gonna bring up names, but it's a fast truck. It runs a lot of like node time, kind of some street racing, things like that, and it does well. But he got beat. It sends me the video. Man, it was on a 325 pulley, 21 plus F-150. Hey man, I need to change the pulley. I go, well, I wouldn't do that if I were you. There's a good chance you'll blow the motor up. All right, well, I'm on a 325. What pulley you running, Ken? I got a 3.0. They're like, well, if you got a 3.0,
I know it makes
and I go,
it so
dude,
hard,
if I
but
give
you have to do that.
If I give you advice to do what I do, then that's reckless because I know I'm being reckless.
And you may as well start your own business and cater to the customers because you're going to start figuring it out.
And I go, dude, if you're not ready to build that engine, then don't do it because you might not make it to the end of the track.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you've been running it for 3 months. I go, I have been. But now every pass, I feel like
you
my
tell me all the
Post-it
time.
notes are almost gone with that truck.
You're like, it's any time now. It's
I mean, the diff was friggin', they had to cut the diff out of it the other day.
Yeah.
People go like, do I need a diff? Yeah. Do you have a diff? Nope. And I proved that you do need one because it was bad. It was really
even
bad.
when I was doing the NA stuff. Everybody's like, did you put a drive shaft on it? No. So that's probably going to be the next because we've talked about it. It's like that thing's putting up with all kinds of abuse.
We did put a drive shaft in it.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I put a carbon drive shaft and a Yukon diff in it. But
still.
Yeah.
I mean, up until now, with my 500 Dragy hits,
factory headers, factory manifolds, all that stuff. So, and I think that's another problem with the internet, right? Like, if I don't have that conversation with the customer, they're like, well, Ken's running a 3.0. I'm going to run a 3.0.
Yep.
And it's like, you got to really think about what you're doing with your vehicle. Like it's all great until it's not great, right? When you blow up shit.
Yeah.
And and whether you're financially able to fix it or not, nobody wants to go, now the engine has to come out and
I agree.
The block's got a hole in it and it's like a major catastrophe. Regardless, they could be rich. It's still a pain in the ass to deal with. So, I think that's where people really come up short in this hobby. They treat it like a video game.
Right.
Until it goes bad. And now they're like, oh, why didn't anybody tell me? And why didn't, it's like, bro, you should have thought about it before you did it, know? So, anyway, so, obviously, like we said on the 2015, that led to a lot of development on, for BMR.
Right.
But at some point, obviously at BMR, what made you decide to make that leap away from BMR to now Kelltrac today? You had a good relationship with the owner.
Yeah.
He
treated me really good. He bought me a car.
Yeah.
Remember, Dark Horse.
Yeah. I mean,
he bought me that car, he just says,
yeah. Do you think it was just a boredom thing? Like
No, I'll tell you what it was. So, I got home one year from, let's see, it would have been 2018. My son's birthday was always PRI weekend. Well, if anybody's going to be at PRI for BMR, who's it going to be?
Right.
So I got home and he was like complaining about I've never been there for his birthday or whatever. And it's easy to judge people, but he was a little kid and it was always like, let's celebrate your birthday when I get back. And it wasn't really an issue.
Yeah.
Imagine a 5-year-old. Like they don't know.
Right.
Oh, it's my birthday. Then they start getting a little older and it's like, oh shit, he knows. Yeah. And then that hurt me.
And you'll know he'll remember it at that point.
I was like,
long term.
Damn. And then I had to do some reflecting. Like I went into Al's office and I said, I got to take some time off. I got to modify my schedule. I think he even gave me a day off or he did something. He was very accommodating. And I was like, okay, maybe I can change it. The main problem is I just got burned out on so many customers, man. It was like, so here's my problem. And I just had the CEO of Celsius. I mean, there's a $15 billion market cap company now. I mean, we had this topic today on the way home. And I said, like, can you ever turn off? No. And that was my thing is like, I couldn't turn off, but I couldn't turn off for Alan Miller of BMR.
Right.
You didn't
have any skin in the game.
No, I didn't have equity. I didn't have ownership. I didn't have any of that, which there's a bunch of theories there. You know, I've talked to other companies. I mean, and I will say towards the end, I had other companies like offer me like money, you know, like real good money. Right. And so did he, you know, whatever, it's to be expected, but I was just done, man. So I was like, what if I go work corporate America and like run a region? And that's what I did. But then the weird thing is that was the opposite. I made all this money. I was making great money. Dream job. Wasn't happy because I didn't have to do anything. I was like working on my cars. Remember? I'd be like, yeah, you're like, dude, you don't work. I'm like, well, you know, I got this.
Well, the problem is you're the type of personality that is a creator, whether it's forum t-shirts or whatever. You're trying to figure things out. And when you work in that type of corporate job, which, you know, it's only about the money because you don't care about what you're selling. Right, you don't care about tire changers,
automotive equipment. That's what we'll say because they have all kinds of stuff. But no, I didn't care about that.
You weren't like, and you weren't doing anything except selling it or managing
supporting
people or supporting it. It wasn't like, oh, I got this design for a new tire changer. Maybe,
I wasn't even excited. We'd have a corporate meeting.
Yeah,
hey, look at this, and I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Where with like at BMR, I'll just use that because that's the only experience I have with a really cool like design coming. Like we're gonna come out with this, and I was like, because I mean I would I've texted you a million times in our chats or wherever where I'm like, look at this cool part. You know that is so exciting to me.
Yeah.
Hey Ken, I'm coming out with this new valving, or I'm coming out with this new design, and that's so exciting to me. So yes, it was all about the money, and you know me well enough to know. Money's not really everything to me. I mean, yeah, it's good, but I'm a numbers guy and I want to be excited, but.
Well, when you follow your passion, money follows usually, not for everybody.
Sure.
But you know, you did everything right. You know, like you didn't, I don't know you forever, but you never really like crazily overspend. You're not like the type of person that's constantly in a hole no matter how much you make. You're a planner, just the same way you're planning your builds, you're planning your life, you know, and that's an important thing. And that's what we differ again. You know, I'm more of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy.
Well, I changed because I instantly was like, I want to do things that my parents didn't do, honestly. I wanted to have my kids' futures are paid for now.
Yeah.
You know, so like, and again, I'm not saying that for any other reason, but to say, if I didn't have kids, like, I mean, my wife would probably have divorced me. I mean, I'm, you know, you know, the feeling is what I'm about to say is like, I am like ate up with cars, man. That's like, that's my love. I don't really, nothing really gets me going other than cars.
And I don't spend the type of time that I used to, although I do, but not the same way.
It's in a different capacity.
When I had Modular Depot, I was like you were, like, oh, you're going to bed? Sweet. Now I can work till 3 in the morning.
Or figure something out. Or have some free time to think about a new cam or something.
Oh, cool. I'm going to work on the website, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
So you did the corporate thing for, that didn't last very long.
2 years, something like that.
Yeah. And then I kind of recall you coming up with the idea for Kelltrac, although I don't know that you put a name on it right away.
No, I was just side hustling.
Yeah. And we're just like, I think I'm going to do this.
It was like right out of the gate, you know, doing, and I don't mind talking about this because I really don't care. But I mean, out of the gate, not even trying, I was doing like 20 or 30,000 a month in sales. And it didn't dawn on me.
And at that point, it's pretty much just like custom Viking stuff.
Yeah, like just doing changes. Yeah. We'll just say that. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I could do this or I could do that, or I was doing some revalving. I was doing anything that I could per se. So I would revalve some stuff, or I would do this, or I would work with Viking. That was when I came out with I call it my XTR. So if you know what you're doing with something, you can make small changes that make a big difference. But then you may look at it and say, that's not that much different. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, 100%, because I run into that all the time in tuning. I'll be helping somebody and they'll compare two values and they're like, well, that's not that different. It's like, the number may not be that different, but it's very different.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but then I thought, why not make money for being smart?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not being arrogant when I say I'm smart. I'm saying I figured this out. So I'll tell you, when people had the coilover kits, that's all I'll say. When people ran coilovers, oftentimes that was around the time when people started making really big power pretty easily. And the issue was travel, just like you had on your GT500. You got to figure out how to get more travel. Well, my way to do it was to use a different strut body with an S550.
Right.
That's it. So my XTR has not a whole lot much more travel than another from somebody else online, but it's positioned to where it puts the majority of the shaft in the hole. It's literally that simple. It's just a different part. It's not the same strut that Viking themselves use or an online reseller. It's a specific strut for me.
Right.
You know, and then the valving comes, and the valving stuff goes back to Brett LaSala. We had a lot of issues finding out a valving that would work on like a steep geared car like a 6R80 because the way it moves. I don't know, something with the load, maybe not being a lot, but it has a lot of gear. It's like this weird in between.
Yep.
And you know, I mean, you know, years ago, Viking even made a post. We worked with BMR, Kelly at BMR on Brett LaSala's.
Right.
It's just that little stuff, just a little difference in valving and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's what happened. I was just doing things. I always try to make it a point to not sell something that everybody else has.
Yep.
That's it.
Well,
so I try to make little changes that are for the better.
And aside from products, I've heard you say this yourself, is you're a service business at the same time as you are a parts business.
Yeah, it's more of a boutique experience, I guess you could say.
Versus, like, you know, it's just like buying a tune off some random website and that's your tune. Whereas like when we're done here, you're going to party with the Miami crowd on F1 and I'm going to be in my RV, remote tuning 3 vehicles in South Texas.
Sure.
You know, because I did some inventory last week about this because there's a few cars down there that I'm really excited about. And they hit me up early Friday last week and like, track's closed, something's wrong with it. And I was like, what are you talking about? That's what I was doing my Friday.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I'm like, and then I thought
you were
about
like looking forward to it.
And I'm like, why am I so damn excited about remote tuning these cars?
Right.
You know, because to me, it's a combo that I'm doing really good with and we're really making progress on. And I'm like, oh my, and it ruined my week almost. And then it got moved from Friday to Sunday. And then Sunday I get a message, nah, it's still not working. I'm like, you guys are messing with me now. You know, and I'm just like, you know, so at the end of the day, that's what I like to do is help people. And I think you're in the same position.
Yeah.
Like you get, you're not money driven. You're not like, I sold X amount of struts this week. It's like, dude, check this video out. Look at this car leaving on the street or this no prep car. Look how much travel it's got. You know, like it's the result, not the money. The money comes with it, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. And I could, you know, since we're on that topic, and you've mentioned it, but like I've kind of built up an ability and a name and a brand and a reputation now to where I probably could start up something and like be more cookie cutter, and I might.
Well, I think I gave you that advice, or not advice, but my opinion of things. I'm like, you know, it's sort of like, again, I hate comparing it to my business, but you know, I really enjoy this, like, you know, the car I'm talking about in South Texas, it's like a Nitro NA car. I love those. I've been doing it. I just did one today on a Dyno in North Carolina. I'm doing a ton of those now. And I really enjoy it just because it's like,
it's cool.
And it's messing with people. Yeah. Like, dude.
Exactly.
I was doing it for Ballard, right?
Yeah.
So I'm remote tuning for Ballard, and he's never messed with that stuff. And after the first dyno pull, he was like, is that right? Like, did an NA car really just make that? Yeah. You know? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. And I go, that's kind of on the lower side. That's Gen 1, you know.
Right.
We can make a lot more than that.
Right.
So, you know.
But it's cool, though, because it's cool. Who doesn't like a high-powered, cool car that takes thought and stuff, you know?
Yeah, and that's...
I mean, I realize it's not the easy button, like a... Gen 2 plus car with twins or something, or blower.
Right. But I constantly say to myself with my business, like, yeah, I love doing all this stuff. I love making 1,500, 1,300 horsepower, but like, we're not selling enough EcoBoost tunes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's the cookie cutter example. Nothing against EcoBoost people, but just like
that's your
ones
low
that are
maintenance.
Yeah, and I give that very little effort as far as marketing or trying to get more of that business. I just tuned a 2019, like guy brought us a 2019 F-150, 3.5 liter and 112,000 miles, and somehow it came here for something silly. Oh, suspension. And then all of a sudden I see them installing a DI pump on it. I go, what is that? What are you doing? Oh, he decided he wanted to run the 85. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Whatever. And then like, it made like with almost no parts. Well, we put it on the dyno. It wound up having a messed up catalytic converter, and it was like misfiring, all kinds of problems. Put some catted downpipes on it, and it almost made 500 wheel horsepower on E85, and it's a 2019. Those turbos are a little smaller than like what was on a Raptor, and I was just like, this is cool as shit. Like you can build a whole business around this, and I'm not doing enough of it, and that's not necessarily cookie cutter because it's
that segment, but that's mostly is get a tune and you're good.
Yeah, and I'm just like, Kelly, for every guy that you're dealing with directly on a very, like a Cody Rogers or me
Ballard
or any of the GT500 guys, there's like a 500 guys that literally you don't need to talk to. They would just want a Kelltrac strut or
coilover that's not adjustable, just to adjust ride height.
And it's not that you're like selling out. It's going to be a good product. It just doesn't need advice. It doesn't need that special touch.
But then it loses the coolness to me. Going back to
I guess
like, I don't know.
I guess a little bit.
So John told me today. He said you should just have both. And it's like, but then I feel like at that point I'm not Superman.
Yep.
I can't make both awesome. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think one of the reasons you're that way is because you're so focused and detailed that I think you would have a hard time. I mean, you did hire your first employee recently, but he's doing more like
assembly
and just like stuff. Work.
Yes,
not any kind of development or new product type stuff. But if you were to find the right guy to help you with that you agreed with, it would change your life. Like a good example is, Doug at Motion Raceworks, right? He's done a great job building that business, and he's very clear about it. I have 5 engineers on staff, where me and you are doing shit and like trying to do everything ourselves.
Exactly.
Doug has spent the money to find the right people.
I've got 5 engineers. I've got 5 racers. I've got, I've got the what it takes to build.
And that's key to taking that next step, right? Like John at Celsius, right? He took over Celsius. How much revenue did they have? $5 million.
I mean, it was
like way low.
Yeah, you're right.
And then now they're one of the largest, fastest growing companies out there, right?
Yeah, and he told me recently that they're actually one of the best performing companies on the stock market in terms of like employee count versus like earnings and profit, and they're sitting on a bunch of cash now, which is rare.
Yep.
And then but the exact number actually is staggering.
He's sitting on a bunch of cash.
5 million. No, Celsius is like as a company.
Hit the brakes. Now sponsored by Celsius.
No, but so it's funny because we talk about some of these things and I just like, whoa, because the numbers just don't make sense anymore to me because they're so big.
Yeah.
But I think the exact numbers are he took it from a 5 million market cap to, I don't know what they are right now, probably 17 billion.
Right. But
we're talking market cap.
And
5 million.
Sure he was super important to that.
Oh yeah.
But I guarantee he could probably name you a large number of people that were key hires.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To get to that point.
Oh yeah.
And that's
his strength though. He's good at that.
That doesn't mean you have to go that route.
Yeah.
But that's when Kelltrac goes from this service-based, like, I'm going to get all the racers fast
customized
to everybody is going to buy Kelltrac, like just Coney or
and I think going back to that BMR comment, and I think that's why I fit in so good there and stuff with the outlook of that company is if I did that, I would do those two words I mentioned earlier, function and form.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
we talk about that all the time. You're like, hey, look at this gold F-150. And I'm like, I wonder if I put gold springs on truck coilovers and everybody loves them.
Yeah.
It's just something a little bit different. But my point is like, if I did it, I'd be like, hey, Ken, does this look cool? And you'd be like, oh, make that gray a little darker. Because there's a lot to that.
And a
beautiful looking part, like these intakes.
Yeah, that
people
stuff,
like good looking stuff.
That stuff matters.
That's where I think I could do a good thing. It would be a good quality part because it's got a good base behind it.
Yep.
But then make it look cool too.
Yeah.
You know?
And like you said, though, you're only one person and you're staying super busy. And like, you know, you even asked me about, you were coming here to pick the car up. And then John asked you about going to the F1 race. You're like, think I should go? Because you're so focused on the business and trying to get shit done.
I didn't really want to go.
Yeah.
My wife is like, you never do stuff. People ask you to do stuff because people ask me a lot to do things. And I'm like, no, I can't.
But it's hard to keep perspective there. Yeah. You know, it's like that's possibly a once in a lifetime opportunity. Yeah. I mean, you're friends with John.
I mean, my ticket was like $35,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Seriously.
Right. And you would never spend that to go to F1 because you don't even care that much about F1.
No.
So here is.
But it's an experience that I'll never probably have again.
And it's not just F1. It's you're going there with the CEO of Celsius. So who else are you getting to meet at that time? And what kind of, you know.
I got to sit next to billionaires that were 35 today. Two different ones.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them going, what is it like? I mean, they have full-time drivers.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's just a totally different world.
So it's cool because I usually don't get to sit there and like talk jokes and cuss and just be yourself around billionaires. I mean, you know, it's kind of cool.
But the interesting thing about that is I bet you that I could be wrong. Maybe I'm being a little whatever, but do they have something in their life that's more than money? You know what I mean? Like you were saying, you know, when you went corporate and I'm making good money, but I don't really care about what I'm doing. Like if these guys gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm a billionaire, but now what do I do? You know, like I don't really have anything interesting except I know how to make a lot of friggin' money. You know? So, you know, just because it looks cool doesn't mean it actually is cool. Right. I guess the goal will be let's be billionaires and have cool shit.
And if I could build this up to do that, it would be amazing. But then it becomes a thing where it's like the market that I cater to right now, it only has so much runway. You know, everybody knows that. Yeah. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I could never trick people that see what I do now. Nobody's gonna be like, oh, that guy's doing 20 million a year. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what I mean? So it's like you can only do so much.
Yeah, and I tell people that all the time. Like when it comes to performance, you know, I'm like, people will ask like whether it's me hiring a tuner or whatever. And I'm like, you don't understand this businest because while you can make good money in the automotive world, performance
aftermarket.
You're not. Most people that are really smart can make way more doing something else. Yep. So the only people that you find in this business are people like me and you who are loving it. And we go, I think I can make good money doing it. We're not. You know what I mean? Like if me and you sat down and said, screw cars, we're going to brainstorm for the next 2 or 3 months and we're going to try to make millions of dollars like within the next few years.
Products or something.
Like getting certain products and selling them on Amazon or whatever. All kinds of hustles that we would care nothing about other than we're making money on it. I guarantee we could do.
But then it's just a job.
Maybe better than we do now.
Yeah. But, 100%.
But we don't want to do that. Well, and thankfully, there's people like us in this business because otherwise you're going to wind up with, mid-grade shit across the board.
Two brothers, mufflers.
Yeah. Two brothers, tire, muffler, GT500.
That's so funny.
So, back to Kelltrac. So obviously in the beginning, and you dealt with a lot of people that operate like you, like, it's just a Viking strut or it's just a Viking shock. Right. And now fast forward, you're still doing that. Yeah. You're still doing new things with Viking, but you also have some of your own 100% your own product. Yeah. Right. So
I've even got my own springs now that are on the way.
Right.
So I get it. You're never going to be like, I could never envision just everybody loving me or my business and everybody accepting me. And then you have the CNNs out there of the industry the people that talk the drama and all that stuff. Like, I get it.
Yep.
But but I am so passionate about it that it does bother me when people make the comment because, well, here's why. It's not wrong per se in some applications that Viking lets me do a certain part. Like, and I thank them all the time for it. We've talked about that. They've allowed me to work with their product in a way. It's just awesome. Right. And so that being said, it's like, it's not like I'm taking a Viking product for the most part and like redoing it totally. I've got my spec valving, which I'm working on a new one, by the way, that's about the new strut.
Yep.
I can post this. Like, that's the thing. Like, I post about it. I tag the owners of Viking. Why wouldn't I?
Right.
Look how much business I'm doing with them.
Right.
Like, but the people that like say that maliciously, it's like, but I also have my IRS posi lock. I mean, you know, it's not, that's what I don't understand. Like, it's like maliciously. It's like haters or something, I guess. And I don't like to use that word like I told you the other day, but I just, you know, it's a passion thing. It's like, I don't know why people make the time to say it. Like,
I think people just love to hate on the internet, and I don't pull any punches when people are that way. I just made a shitty comment to somebody on one of our company posts, because no matter what you post about, no matter what, it's something negative. Like, it was Jeff's Mach 1. So Jeff Tremarco comes here with his Mach 1, did undisclosed modifications to the vehicle, but I still wanted to do a video on it. So we're doing 93 and E85. I said, hey, can I post some of your numbers? She's like, yeah, but let's just post 93 and not the E85. And I go, and then I won't even talk about exactly what you did, because he likes to race and wants to get, you know. So I made a post about it, and, you know, you should be, you know, sharing all the information and this and that. This is useless, blah, 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 you know. And it's like,
well, why
listen
even
here,
say
motherfucker.
that, though?
Like, I could just not even have posted the car.
Yeah.
So some people in here obviously are happy I posted the car.
Right.
Want to see what it made. You know what power is possible, and we know we're on 93. Yeah. But it's cool on the internet to just be a dick, and you win because you're a dick, you know, or whatever I said to him. I can't remember what I said. And I can't get with that mentality. It's like
so weird, and it's so common now.
It's like, if you want to tear somebody down, tear the guy down. That guy down. Yeah. The guy that's doing nothing and just running his friggin' mouth constantly, talking about shit he doesn't know anything about, talking about things he hasn't touched, talking about things based on other people's experiences, just a mouth going on and on and on.
Meanwhile, and the funny thing is like, and I had to bring this up, is like, I mean, I'm on like my 8th or 9th Mustang since 2015.
Right.
And I touch them all. It's not like I just drive them.
Right.
And then look at all of the stuff you've had. And it's like, but then those same mouthpieces are, they're going to talk degradingly to us. And I'm not going to say we're awesome.
Yep.
But we're people in the industry that are figuring things out for other people.
Yeah.
That's, there's no appreciation there. It's like, well, like I don't get it.
And the latest, you know, issue with the negativity, the big one is the S650.
Yep.
Right. Oh, it's crap. You can't tune it. It's worse than the year prior and all that stuff. And then obviously NA, you did good with yours, NA.
Yeah, my car's fast, man.
And then we dynoed the lethal car and made the 800 horsepower, and everybody called bullshit. And it's like, fine. You want to call bullshit? Call bullshit. That's the first one you saw. Maybe it's an anomaly.
Here's another one.
There's another one.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Here's Kelly's car.
Yeah.
Here's literally exactly what it made on what fuel.
Yeah, so we did Lethal's stick car. We did Igor's Dark Horse. We did Street Speed's GT. We did your GT. We did Lethal's Dark Horse. Yeah. So 5 cars at least on my dyno, and they all made the same power, or at least like based on different pulleys. Like it all made sense. Yeah. There was no like,
smoking gun.
I knew it. You were bullshitting. That car only made 700. And you're like, nope. This one made 745. Yeah. This one made, you know, whatever.
And then did you see the Dark Horse recently that just went 9.9s? Cam Sun or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not a shop. He's just a guy. It was a stock car with a Whipple.
He said one and done, so I assume it was like one pass.
142 or no, 140-ish.
140. Yep.
that car's got to be 4,200 pounds. An A10.
And I think if I had to guess, looking at the time slip, it probably had something going on in the middle.
And the 60-foot wasn't very good.
Yeah, because the 60-foot wasn't good, and he still went a 9. And then Beefcake went 9s with his. And he's a big dude. I mean, that car's the heaviest S6. He's got the micro record for that. It all
makes sense, like you just said.
Yep.
There's nothing that doesn't like. Right. And
so people are calling bullshit to me, and it's like, hey, first off, don't give me a hard time. I'm not tuning it. I'm just dynoing it.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, and I'm just delivering information, and you're taking the opinion of other people that haven't even seen one of these yet, or touched one of them, or even dynoed one, or driven one.
Right.
I mean,
I hate having the car, and then like recently I've seen some posts. I don't reply to them. I don't do anything, and I'll see people like not talking shit, but just saying these weird comments. And it's like, and I'm looking at it going, not only does he not have an S650, but he doesn't even have probably an S550, and he doesn't have a Whipple. Like, I have it.
Yeah.
I'm out beating on it. I'm showing you what it's doing and like on my videos.
Yeah, these people
I don't know. What else do you want?
They're arguing theories based off of other people's opinions that don't even really know what they're talking about.
I don't get it.
It's frustrating to me. It's one of probably the most frustrating things. And it's like, it's not like I expect people to just take everything I have as gospel.
Right.
But if you're going to come back at me with like,
that's
my
the point.
Buddy right here has this car and his car only made 700. Can you explain why? But that didn't
I would entertain that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Hey buddy, you might have an issue.
Yeah.
Because that's probably what it would be. Right. A sensor or a intercooler pump or something.
And we had that issue. Right. Street Speed's car. It had a intercooler pump wiring issue.
Wasn't working?
Yeah. And, I'm not logging. Sometimes I log those cars, but they're hard to log.
Yeah.
So I wasn't logging. And we did the dyno pull, and me and Jared looked at each other like, and this was, when all the controversy was going on.
Right. You're like, what the heck?
I'm like, oh man, dude, it's low. Like, this is like going to be bad because it's like proving some people right. Maybe they're not all going to make that power.
Yeah.
And then we're like trying to figure out what we're going to do. And then, those run the intercooler pump with just key on. So like, let's cool it off, hit the button. And we're standing there talking. And then we look at the intercooler reservoir.
You're like, what?
It's not moving. And I'm like, Jared's like, dude, I don't think the intercooler pump's working. So we fixed that, and boom, 50 horsepower. We're like,
yeah.
So, there's definitely situations where things aren't going to work out perfectly. Like Jared took his stick shift car to the track and had issues with it.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, I knew it. It's like, no, dude. It's first car going down the track.
Since we're talking about that, remember you asked me, what do you think it ran?
Yep.
And I nailed it.
Yeah. Because you knew.
You literally were like, that's exactly what he ran. And I'm like, because I kind of figured there was going to be some clutch protect. I mean, I was bench racing. Yep. I was like, well, it should go probably like a 9.8 at 143. I'm bench racing. And then I'm like, but it's got some decent drivers, but it's going to bog. Yep. It's going to clutch protect because I've been there. I've been there.
There's going to be all sorts of issues.
I've been there. That's why.
Yeah.
That's all it takes right there. I've been there. So I knew it was going to happen. And you were like, wow. And it's like, Ken, don't forget, I had a Whipple MT82 2020 that we had tuning issues on, remember?
Yeah.
Jerry was at the track with us that one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was making timing and stuff, remember?
Yeah. People don't get like how complicated this stuff is. It's complicated, period. Now you've got a brand new platform, and that is not being custom tuned. It's being tuned by an engineer. I don't know where that guy is, Michigan. I'm not sure where he even lives.
Hawaii.
And he's obviously very, very smart, knows what he's doing, but he's not like track tuning cars all the time. So for it to do what they're doing just as an off-the-shelf Whipple tune, especially the 10-speed cars. I mean, look at those things.
I agree.
It's amazing.
That's the ones I thought were going to have all the issues.
There's 3 now, right? 3 in the 9s?
Yeah.
Cam, Beefcake, and PMP.
Yeah.
And then Jared should be there soon.
Yeah.
But, that's when it really all became clear to me after we did, because the first car we did was Jared's stick car. Then we did Igor's 10-speed. And it dynoed exactly what we expected. And I didn't know Igor at all, but he's a cool dude. And he's like, oh, go take it for a ride. And Dustin's like, yeah, I want you to drive it because I want your opinion. And he kind of set me up for thinking it was going to suck. see how it's just a one. And I freaking hit it out here, and I was like,
these are pretty
bro,
good.
if this was my tune, I'd be like, woo,
yeah,
nailed it. So, and this is just,
you told me that.
Yeah. I was like, damn, dude.
So there you go.
Yeah. I was like, dude, this is really good.
Instead of talking shit about it.
Right.
You're like, have you seen it? Like, this is really good.
Have you seen S650 go down the track, a whip one, and nail a rev limiter?
Yeah, exactly.
Shit that happens when we tune them when they're new. Nope. They got it right off. It's badass. So, I don't really, I guess the biggest way to handle that is just to keep on going, ignore the haters. And, one of my favorite sayings is time tells the true story. And it's like, okay, if I'm lying 6 months from now, come back.
Right.
Point your finger in my face and be like, I told you. Yeah. But you're not going to do that because I'm not lying.
Exactly. And that's a good saying that you just said, because it proves a lot of things. Who's in the industry pushing things still? Yeah. Who hasn't? Who do you not hear about anymore? Yeah. Who gets tagged a lot and who doesn't? Or who, that's exactly right. Time tells the true story,
I've dealt with a lot of hate throughout my entire career, and partially that's my own fault because I'm the type of person to put myself out there. Yeah. I got a YouTube channel. I'm active on social media.
You share when a screen knocks you in the back of the head or a rack falls. Not many people, I will tell you, not many people do that though. Right. Like, you actually share your mistakes or your embarrassing moments.
Dude,
not many people do that.
You know how many YouTube videos I've put out and I get 10 messages? Bro, what are you doing? What do you mean? Why'd you put that in the video? You went slower, or it made less power. Or like if I'm doing a dyno video or this and that. And I'm like, for those 10 of you that are telling me, what am I doing? I get 100-fold of people going, man, thank you for being honest on your YouTube channel. Thank you for showing us that everything isn't all perfect and like, boom, 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 I made 100 million horsepower. It's like, no, we got to experiment. We got to see. And I think by the same token, I'm being selfish by sharing everything. Because if I share everything, I don't have to remember what I didn't tell you. I don't have to worry like, oh, well, that's going to come out that I put octane booster in it, but I didn't tell you I put octane. Right. No, there's octane booster in it. This one's without octane boost. This is with octane boost. So the minute you don't play, the minute you refuse to play those sorts of games is the minute you're free. Yes. Because you're not.
It's all out there.
You're not a slave to.
This might happen.
That's going to come out now, those sorts of things. So
yeah, that's true.
I think that's what motivates me. It's almost like from a selfish place, because the more honest I am, the less you could come back at me at, you know, and on top of it, I do think being overly sharing, nobody could ever complain. Like, oh, you didn't tell me that. You didn't show that in your video. No, I showed you. Look, right here. My freaking car hit the rev limiter 10 fucking times before I could make that pass happen or whatever, especially through the GT500. That was probably my most detailed, extensive projects that I've done. I would like to do that with everything.
It's hard.
But it's just hard with time. But that's why I did that with the GT500 stuff, because I knew, and I had that conversation multiple times, like when Francis was here doing video and stuff, and he's like, should I put that in the video? Yeah. Put everything in the video, because I don't want anybody to think, I don't want to sell somebody $20,000 worth of parts and they have the same problem I have. And then afterwards I have to go, well, I had that problem. And then they go, oh, I didn't know that I was going to have problems. Nope. Watch my videos. You're going to have all these fucking problems. But when it all comes together, here's how it's going to go. Yeah, right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, I like to talk about things outside of cars on this with people. So, obviously we know you have a family, 2 children, you're still happily married. What kind of hobbies do you enjoy outside of cars? I know there's not a lot, I'm guessing. But there is.
No. So my true passion is fishing. And
I didn't even know that, honestly.
But I have the reason why, when you talked about attention to detail and all that stuff, that's why I don't race. Because I would just be too obsessed with it. Because I would.
That's why I don't gamble.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm all or nothing. Like I can't just dabble.
Right.
I can't.
Yep.
I can't do it. You know, before I had kids and stuff, I had a bass boat. I had these badass guns. I mean, I was doing everything,
Mhm.
fishing, everything. And it really got to a point where, you know, I like fishing, but I've slowed down because I get obsessed with it. I
Mhm.
gotta have the best reel. Oh, this stuff's outdated. Let me start from scratch, and then I'm just gonna fish. And then it's like, oh, I got cars. I forgot. That's me. That's
Yeah.
so. I'll dabble in a little bit of things, but I've learned to dabble in things that are enjoying that I won't go crazy on. So like we like to travel. Uh, so that's actually, I guess you could say that's a hobby. I mean,
Sure.
we travel a lot. And then investing. I try to stay away, and then I'm like, but I know this is gonna happen, and then I'll get in this like 1 week funk, but then it screws everything up because I can't answer people because I'm focusing. Like
Right.
it's really like I'm really like routine. That's my problem.
Mm.
So the car stuff is just embedded. So um,
I know one.
food,
I
you
was just
know.
gonna say food and bourbon and things like
Yeah, so
that.
I like bourbon, sipping. I hate getting like drunk.
Mhm.
And when I do, I just regret it so bad. So, but I like to sip and taste different. You know, I'll have like cool bottles of whiskey and I've had them for months and they'll be maybe half because I'm sharing them with some neighbors and stuff. But, so I like bourbon. I just really, that started because, I used to be a big beer guy.
Mhm.
You might remember that. I was into IPAs and all this
Yeah.
stuff. But you know, as you get older, like you know, you get so then I'm like, okay, I'll just have like little sips of bourbon. So I like bourbon. I like fishing. I'm not even gonna say I like hunting. I like, you know, I grew up in Texas and stuff, and when I moved here, I did some hunting and stuff. But uh, you know, that's really just it. I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and
so
that's really the story of most people that are at the
right.
head of a company and all that. So traveling is like probably one of those things that fits well with that because it's
Yes,
very compartmentalized. It's
and
not
it's
like you're gonna
families
go,
involved, so
I'm
I
gonna
can do
travel
it.
constantly.
Right.
You can only travel so
Yeah.
much. So it's
Yeah.
a good hobby.
Right.
Where have you been recently that you really enjoyed?
Well, we don't go like extravagant.
Can you go camping
A while back, we
or
went
like
to
a
the Bahamas, and
yeah.
then we do a lot of weekend stuff.
Mhm.
So, like a week ago, we were in Marco Island.
Mhm.
You know, I don't even know if I've shared that with you guys. I don't know, but
I didn't know you were there,
yeah,
but
I was
then
in
you said
Marco
like
Island.
you posted
Oh yeah,
you posted a picture.
anniversary or something.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
anniversary
so we
stuff.
do that. We do like Captiva. We do the cabins in Georgia.
Mm,
We have like certain Hiltons that we stay at. So we
mm.
do like the lazy river stuff. We do a lot of that. We don't do the beauty is we live in Florida, man. So
Yeah.
I can go to a cabins up in North Carolina or Georgia within 8 to 10 hours or something like that. I can go over to the ocean here,
Mm.
not the Gulf. You know, I can
Right.
actually see waves and like, you know, enjoy that stuff. We can go to Cocoa Beach, we can boogie board or whatever you call it. And then the Keys, we went there a while back and you know, we do a lot of the local stuff.
Do you see
St.
yourself
Augustine recently.
having like other properties like in different parts of the country, or are you pretty much Florida all the way?
I don't know, man. I can't. I'm obsessed with Florida.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes
love it here. So
yeah,
I
I
don't
do
know.
too. Sometimes I kind of dream about like maybe having a
Like a
cabin
getaway
in
that's peaceful.
Tennessee
Yes.
or,
So we were
stuff like
looking
that.
recently. We were looking at a house on the water, but not what you would expect.
Mm,
Like John's house, like that,
right. Yeah.
like Homosassa or like Cedar Key,
Yep.
like historic old Florida.
Yep.
Like I hate to say swamp, but like the grass and the rivers that go out, the tributaries or whatever that go out to the Gulf,
Mm,
something like there that's relaxing, like old Florida,
mm,
like the manatees and like we did some of that recently. Then it led to okay, these are too expensive,
yeah.
so let's look at some cabins. And you were the one that had said like the Airbnb market was kind of hurting, and you can tell like when you look at all the people that got into that in the cabins in Georgia, that's a
Mm.
huge thing. They're all like they're like half the price. Like people are trying to get out of them now because it's
Yeah.
like oversaturated. But I would love to have one though. I think a cabin and a place you can truly relax.
Yeah.
I am as I get older, I think that's a good
Yeah. I
spot.
grew up in New York, so I'm a city person. And that's why, you know, when I moved down here, I've always lived within like a mile. Well, when I first moved down here, I lived with a friend, and we did live out west a little bit, about 15 minutes from I-95, and I hated it. You know, I'm like, I got to be like right in the middle of it all. But as I get older, you know, I feel like my tastes are changing some. I love my house where I live, the location, but definitely something is attractive to like, you know, having like a bunch of acreage with a house on it, and there's like you're in your house and there's nobody can see you or
tell you what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I got fined the other day for the basketball go. Our neighborhood, you can't have things showing. Right. So I've been keeping a basketball goal beside my house. We have this little cutout since 2018, 5 years. And I just got like all in trouble for it or whatever, you know, and it's like.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I really paid attention to when I bought my house. I live 1 mile. Simon, what are you doing, buddy?
Fine.
I live like 1 mile from I-95, but I was able to find a neighborhood that's unincorporated. Right. I don't have HOAs. I don't have city. I don't have any of that. I got to deal with the county, and that's it.
Right.
So I kind of like already lived that life a little bit where I don't have as many rules, but I would like to have a lot more room. So when it comes to family, do you like, you know, I know your son, how old's your son?
So he's 13.
So he's got a while before he drives.
Yeah.
Well, do you see him getting into the car thing, or?
He's at that age where, and the reason I kind of went like this is like, he's kind of like did I show you that text he sent me the other day of a Viper?
Yeah.
He was like, is this special? You know, he's
curious about it a little bit.
Yeah, he has like he has like a little Razor scooter that we have at 72 volts. It goes like 60 miles an hour. It's like one of those little ones that like kids.
Yeah.
And he'll ride that up to the Hooters and stuff out in front of our neighborhood, and he'll just like sit and just wait for cool cars.
Right.
So I kind of remember being there where it was a big deal to see a car. Like I remember when the 0304 Cobra came out and I would see one back then. I was like, whoa, that's an awesome car.
Yeah.
So, and the Vipers, of course. I'm just saying, like, I think he's at that stage where it's like he likes them because I guess maybe I do. But I think he's actually starting to appreciate. Like he sees it and he's like,
understanding it a little bit more.
That's a rare car.
Yeah.
Because that's what he asked me on that Viper. He saw a Viper and he said, what is this? Is it rare?
Right.
So that shows that, you know, I don't know. It's hard to say with him. He likes to fish. Yeah. He likes all the same things I did when I was a kid. You know, he likes to fish. But he jumps around a lot where when I was a kid, I was very focused on what I was doing. Like, that's why I was a good athlete, because I was like pitching like all the time, figuring out how to do it, the science behind it. Fishing, I figured it out. I spent all the summers fishing. He just kind of like hops. But I think that's popular these days, where you just want to do everything.
Yeah, and it's a good way to like find your way. I mean, I wasn't a car guy at all.
Yeah.
Until
you were into like planes and tech and stuff.
Yeah, I was like more into tech and video. You know, I was really into video and doing things like that. I didn't get into cars till after I bought a Mustang, just because I wanted a Mustang, but not because I was going to modify
to race it. Yeah.
Like I didn't grow up.
Now we buy cars what we want to modify.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, they're like, why are you buying that? It's because I could triple the horsepower. Yes. You know, like.
And the sales guys are like, what?
Speaking of that, I got a message. Somebody wants to send me some turbos for my Bronco Raptor.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, maybe.
Oh man, here comes the engine.
That's not even tuned. Anyway, so let's circle back to Kelltrac real quick before we close things out. So, how long are you into this? A couple of years now?
So March 2021 is when I started. Like,
so that's pretty much 3 years.
Corporation, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you've made huge progress with it. You just recently, in the last 6 months, moved into your own shop.
Yep. I had it for almost a year.
Yeah, but
I was so busy in the corner of my garage.
Yeah, I think I poked you a little bit about that. Yeah, I'm like, get the hell out of your garage and park your car back in there. Yeah. And then you got your first employee, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So seeing the trajectory you're on, where do you see the company or yourself in 5 to 10 years? Like what would you like to see happen?
So one thing I can say is that I've thought long and hard about where I fit, like the void I'm filling. And I think that I've truly gotten to a point in the Mustang world to where I just don't know if there's a lot left, because I think for somebody like me to be in a market that big but so small, like, you know what I mean? Like somebody that owns a Mustang with bolt-ons and stuff typically isn't buying something from me as much as they're buying BMR springs with a Steeda Pro Action or whatever they call it.
Right.
That's the bread and that's the big. I'm next, I guess you could say. Like,
Right.
if you want a little bit more than that, and you want to drag race, like you go to Kelltrac and he'll spend. Not even that. People.
You're dealing with like kind of like the cream of the crop, or people that want to be the cream of the crop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I've thought long and hard about it, and I asked myself this. I said, what if I could impact 5 markets like I do just Mustang, but 5?
Yep.
Then I'm like, whoa, that could be, I mean, that would be a legitimate, I mean, that would be like high volume. I mean, so you know what I mean? That starts to become like, it's almost like, is it possible to even do that? I mean, you know, it's like Mincer Motorsports, but for street cars.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, in my opinion, you know, I'd like to see you do more like regular stuff, you know, and only because obviously most people relate whatever to themselves. And the way I look at it is like, I could be out there building just race cars. Right. Like that's what I actually originally tried to do and wanted to do. And then I looked at the market, and what I do now is really the best fit for me. The average guy still doesn't come to me, maybe with tuning, but not our shop, because our shop is a little higher end. It's a little bit more expensive, and we're doing mostly just big packages. We're not like, somebody doesn't call here and
for
like,
just a header install.
Headers maybe, but like nobody's like,
like a colder intake and some wheels.
My car.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like just the guy that's at the, I could lower my car. Like that's not my guy. Okay. Right. Like he's going somewhere else for that.
But that's the most popular person.
I know. And a
car with just springs is like the most popular, right?
So I'm kind of like in the middle. I'm not like race car, but I'm also not every guy's guy.
Right.
I'm in the middle somewhere. Yeah. So, you know, that's personally what I'd like to see you do is like embrace, like right now, like the race cars are maybe 10% of the market.
Yeah.
And then the bottom 50% is just the everyday guy who may not have a lot of Mustang friends, and he just buys all the stuff just based off of the very commercialized type of stuff, what Summit might have, what Jags might have, things like that. And then there's that other 40% in the middle that, you know, when you say you feel like you're saturated, maybe you're saturated with what you want to do.
Right.
Not necessarily with what you're capable of doing. So, and that's like a good, interesting topic that we're not going to really go into today, because people say the same thing to me. You know, Kobe just the other day, his buddy just bought a Demon 170.
Right.
Oh man, you know, I wish we could do more of those. I go, I don't. And he's like, why? I go, because there's way more Fords I can tune.
Right.
Way more Fords. And, you know, I try to go down that path. In fact, when I had Modular Depot, we did do.
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
We had Modular Depot and we had DCX Depot.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of that. And then when I moved to Florida, I went back to mostly Ford only. Now, have I tuned Hellcats? Yeah. I've tuned maybe in the last 7-8 years, I've tuned 7 Hellcats, maybe.
But if you're trying to perfect that Hellcat tune, and what the viewers might not understand is that's more time taken away from perfecting that 10R80 tuning and stuff.
Exactly.
And that's what, you know, I see people all the time right now is talking about, man, Ken retuned my car, my A10. And I'm not saying it was from XYZ tuning. I'm saying in general, people
Yep.
are like raving about your A10 tuning, but it's because you had to spend time doing that, and you're going to take away from that perfection by doing something that's just low volume.
And that's never done, in my opinion. Just like you said, you're working on new valving.
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with your current? What's wrong with your current valving?
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly.
You're just making it better. And if you decided now, and I guess valving kind of go across brands somewhat.
Correct.
But you know,
but a IRS lockout for an S550 won't.
No.
So that's and you know, to be honest, if I could go back, I'm conflicted on that because I don't sell as many as I thought I was going to, but I'd sell enough to where it helps with brand building. So it's like, those are the things I'm fighting.
Right.
Because like, if I just got a Hellcat, right? And I'm like, I should do the same exact recipe that what has gotten me to where I am in the Mustang world. That's my mentality.
Right.
Copy it. Do an IRS Posilock for that car. Do the shock, do this, do that. Do the same recipe. But then I start thinking, and it's like, okay, well, if I only sell 62 of those kits a year and I make $1,500 in a year,
right?
Exactly. And it took me a month to design it and a month to test it.
Right.
That's a bad return on investment, man.
Yeah, but you know,
opportunity cost.
And there's definitely value in doing that because it supports your other parts. It helps diversify your catalog, even though you literally wouldn't miss the money if it stopped coming from that part.
Correct.
It's still important to the overall picture of things. Like, you know, we came out with a heat exchanger for the GT500.
Right.
It's not selling as good as I thought it would, but guess what? It's still the best one out there. Right. And every GT500 that comes in here gets one. And we're not struggling. Before that, we were struggling with supply.
Right.
They weren't as good as I would like to see the performance wise. Plus, well, I don't have any. It's going to be
20
4
weeks.
months or whatever. And it's like, so even though like I didn't have to come out with my own heat exchanger, now that I have my own heat exchanger and I have 30 of them or something like that, I'm not stressing about like, how am I going to solve this problem? Where am I going to get it from? So I think that's valuable enough.
Yeah, that's true.
To do it. And because it's done the way you want it, right? Yes. If you didn't have that, you'd have to solve that problem another way.
Yeah, you're right.
And it probably wouldn't be solved exactly how you want to solve it. And then you would compromise. So you can't look at everything based on that. You got to look at the big picture. So, you know,
but as I build the company forward, for me right now, because remember, going back to Doug Cook, being that I'm the main one, you know, and I don't want to take anything away from Derek, you know, because he's the reason I can do that now.
Right.
But, you know, ever since he started, though, I've been releasing new products and stuff because I got too busy to where I couldn't do that. My point is I think once the business gets to a certain point where I can say, hey, John or whoever, and like maybe I'll get that young engineer that's hungry and wants to help, you know, be how I was at BMR. Then I think like, you know, coming out with that stuff quicker, because it would just take me, I take a long time to do everything.
Right.
So that's where my mentality is. It's like, I want to do that, but it's like, man, I could probably work on getting into another market, or I could do another coilover.
Yeah, I think any larger successful company is almost entire, like once you get to a certain point, like right now, 100% of Kelltrac is because of Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Not taking anything away from Derek, but you're right. You pretty much could do what you're doing right now without Derek. It just makes it easier and helps you go further. But right now, it's all Kelly. But any company that's gone beyond that, if you don't have the right team around you, it's never going to happen. And that's
what I'm scared of.
Right. And, you know, I'm in this Palm Beach Dyno like 8 years. And it's only now, this last year, I feel like I finally have my team, right? Like I'm super happy with every single person that works here. And the attitude and the culture here is through the roof, right? Like every single person here acts like they have a piece of this, and maybe they will someday, you know, as we continue to grow and be bigger, you know, profit sharing, maybe parts of the company gets divided out because I'm not in this to, you know, be 80 years old and have $80 million, which wouldn't happen regardless of what I do. Right. But, you know, to me, the value is in the people.
Yeah.
You know, like Kobe, you know, he's the head tuner under me, and I couldn't do this without him, or Bobby, or Mike, or Pierre, or Jeremy, or Adam, or Kobe, or anybody here. Did I leave anybody out? Hope not. Or Brandy, you know.
Right.
And, you know, like that's a perfect example. My wife, right? She's not a car person at all, but she handles all the finances, right? That's something I really hate. She handles all of our personal finances because I am not that guy.
Right.
I am not that guy at all. And I'm also not the guy to order parts. Kobe handles all that. The other Kobe, you know, and you have to remind yourself every day how valuable that is, because, you know, Kobe might piss me off and I'll be like, Kobe, this package got delivered yesterday and you didn't check it in. And I'm all mad about that. And I'm like, yeah, but what about every single day? I don't even have to consider if parts were ordered, right? The minute the order comes in on the website or shop, you know, in person, it's like, it just happens because he's doing such a good job. I only notice the one or two little bad things, but you have to, you know, you don't want to be that dick of a boss that's like, you know, grinding away at somebody over every little detail.
Right.
And the only way you could do that is to have the culture to where Kobe isn't doing things because he doesn't want to get yelled at. He's doing things because he wants to do it.
Exactly.
Right? You know, and that's how things are around here. But that's really hard to do. 8 years into it, you know, there's been a lot of people that have come and gone through here, whether fired or quit or whatever, that they're not bad people, but they just didn't fit.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been that guy before. When I was at Diablo Sport, I was, you know, I consider myself a pretty smart guy. I understand how things need to go and all that. But looking back at it, I was a little bit toxic, I guess, because I was constantly like, this is stupid. This is stupid. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And I was doing it for the right reasons, but approaching
you were passionate because you were like, this isn't right.
Yeah, but I was approaching it wrong.
Yeah.
And I was approaching it like I was perfect.
Right.
And, you know, and everybody's doing shit wrong, and that's why shit's messed up. And it's like, well, guess what? You're doing shit wrong too. It's you have to get to a level playing field, whether it's an employee or a partner or whatever, to where, you know, you can't nitpick at every little detail, or else people stay a year or two and they're like, why am I here?
Why am I? Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you pay them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I remember when I got my first job out of college, let's say I was making, I don't know, $40,000. I'm like, woo, $40,000, you know?
Yeah.
And then after a while, it doesn't matter if it's $400,000. You get used to it. Your lifestyle gets used to it. And there has to be another reason to stay there. And if you're the owner of the business, you got to be passionate about the business. And if you're not the owner of the business, you have to just enjoy your job, you know? And I think that's the problem that most people have in their jobs, is like a lot of companies are just run 100% as like a spreadsheet or like a bottom line thing. And it's like, you know, we've gone through some times here where things have been super slow, and the right thing probably would have been to lay some people off. But I didn't want to do that because I had good people here and I liked the situation here. So, you know, we worked through it. And then March was our best month in the history of the company. And April was pretty close, you know, and that's only because we finally have gotten to the point that this place is like clicking, like super, super good. So, you know, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you want to get to that next level, whether it's multiple brands or just blowing up the Ford brand, is the hardest part is ahead of you, which is finding the Kelly Aiken to work for you. That Al got to work for BMR. You need to find your younger version of you that's going to come in and go, look at all this potential. Not to look negatively at you, but just like, here's all the shit I can add and here's what I can do. And like, you know, you did all that at BMR, not because Al came to you and said, if you do this, this, and this, you're going to make this much money. Right? That never happened. No. You just did it.
And then he rewarded me.
And then he rewarded you. So, you know, I don't really know the answer to how to find those people. I've gotten lucky here, but I need, right now I'm looking for a mechanic.
Right. Oh yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
And it's like,
Speaking of Al at BMR, he texts me quite often and says things like, it gets a lot harder from here before it gets easier. He'll say that to me, like, good luck. Like, it's going to get hard before it gets easier, and because you're at that point where it's like, it's going to get hard. Like,
I'd say the 3 to 6 year mark was the toughest, because in the beginning it was easy, right? Because you're
same here.
As long
the first couple of years, it was like, as long as you can do what you need to do.
Because you're making more money and you haven't
real nicely, and
you haven't taken on the overhead to go that next step. So now you're a little doing good cash wise and things are going good. And you may have not had that rash of bad customers or economy.
I told you, I went from no overhead basically.
Right.
To, I don't know, $10,000, $12,000 or, I'm just throwing a rough number out there. That's from nothing to that. And people might laugh and say, that's not much money or whatever, but when that's buying your food and you're, paying for your things to do, like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. That's the biggest mistake I made with this business was, as things grow, you're like, oh, wow, I just do this and grow and hire more people and get more buildings and do all this. And I got to the point like 2.5 years ago where my overhead, I don't even want to put a number on it, but like it
was just so high.
1 month was what most people don't even make in a year.
Right.
And people go, man, you're charging $750 for a tune and you do how many cars? How much money? I'm like, dude, do you have any idea how expensive it is to run a business like this?
And in this location?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. When I moved in here, we were paying $12 a square foot. It's probably $22 a square foot now. It's insane.
Because they know that if you leave, somebody else will come in. Yep. Somebody needs this space. Yeah, Commercial's crazy,
Yeah, I have a 3-year lease coming up in a couple of months. I'm not even looking forward to that. But
people online have no idea though. Like a lot of the people that are kind of the younger adults that don't really, I knew this stuff because I did business courses in college and I just kind of been around it. And then, seeing you and seeing other people and, Ballard's a good example. We watched you and I watched him go from, nothing to where he is and all that stuff. But, we experience it. We see other people experience it. We can lend a hand or give some advice if needed. But then, the people online and stuff that are, our customers, really, the people that see us,
right,
that we're visible to, they don't really think about any of that. Right. I paid this much. I ordered this. I need it now. I need this. And, I need it to do this for me. And it's, I think in our world, we're in such a unique industry that like, it can be tough in this industry. I think a lot of people come and go because of, recently, I'm not going to say a name, but recently a shop closed and then he's going back to doing what he was doing.
Yeah. And then there was another one a few months ago up in the Northeast that closed. What people don't get is a lot of people think that that we're bigger than we are.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And that,
especially me.
Yeah.
I would show people, that's why I would post my videos of a 90 square foot corner.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, I'm doing this stuff out of here. So like if the order takes a couple days, like calm down.
Yeah. People expect like Walmart level, like, oh, return it for any reason. I don't care if you've been using it for 6 months. If you're not happy with it, return. No, dude, like you ordered that shit. It's yours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't stock this part, so you can't return it, things like that. And sometimes you make exceptions and all that, but people just think that they're going to get like Amazon. I guess I use Walmart as an example, but Amazon's probably a more
Walmart
recent
started
example. Walmart started
it. You could buy a vacuum and use it for a month. Take it back. I don't want it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just not that much volume or margins, right? Like Walmart probably doubles their money on that vacuum or more. Yeah. It's like,
because they're beating people up because they're powerful.
Yeah. Most parts companies may operate as, dude, I was talking to, I'm not going to name names, but like a a company that sells a lot of superchargers. It wasn't lethal. And the margins he told me he had to work on to be competitive and volume, because he's a volume company. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You know, like
It's
selling,
mind blowing.
yeah, selling like a $10,000 package. And at the end of the day, you know, you're lucky if you
$500 or
make $400 or
something,
$500, you know, and it's like, dude, that's really bad, you know.
Yeah.
And then you add in credit card fees and,
Yep.
you know, everything that goes on top of it. It's just, it's a struggle. So we didn't talk much about Mr. Dragy.
Okay. We
I
can
want to
talk about that real
I want
quick.
to talk about that
Okay.
real quick.
Okay. So I'm building up my little car collection and I'm doing some stuff.
Yeah, you just got the Hellcat. So you got the C8, the Hellcat, which is the jailbreak.
Yeah, wide body,
all that stuff. You got a GT 500. You've got,
which is going to get real serious soon.
The S650 Whipple
with the
car.
Whipple, yeah.
I'm
having a hard time.
Well, Dodge, GM, two Fords.
Yeah, there you go.
Two Fords.
Yeah, I got the Coyote truck, but it's not a hot rod. But I got rid of the Raptor, man. It was like it didn't fit. Yeah. And I'm going to work on some development for the trucks. But anyways.
So the point behind the Mr. Dragy deal is obviously, I think it's a good look inside the differences between what the average guy might be able to do with a car versus like if you talk about every little detail. But how much does that play into like the suspension stuff?
It's actually a lot. But you got to remember, it's about the whole thing. So like, here's an example. There's been times over the years where I might have had a tune from you or Rob or whoever I was working with that sent me that revision that I asked for more timing. Right. I love timing, right? So I'm like, give me more. That helps the big picture though, because if I'm out going, let's talk about my orange car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I went 380s on the street, a couple 3s, 390s, 4.0s. Remember when I was doing Dragy hits in Georgia on back roads that I've never driven on?
Yeah. You didn't even know it was at the other end.
Low fours. Yeah. And I know people watching aren't even know what we're talking about. But what I learned on that.
But they can know if they go on Mr. Dragy YouTube channel and learn about.
So I'm documenting all that stuff. But here's what I'm getting at. If I'm helping people activate hook, I tell people all the time, I also have to know other things. Mm-hmm. So if a customer's like, dude, I cannot get this car to hook. And I'm like, well, what's your timing on the hit? 18 degrees, turn it down to 10. But you'd be surprised how many people are like, whoa, okay, yeah, okay, Kelly. Yeah. And it's like, that to us, it's like, duh.
That's the hardest part about giving advice sometimes is like, this sounds arrogant, but it's not. It's just because it's our job. We're professionals at this, and the average guy may not be thinking about it. So the problem is you have to try. The hardest part for me is to sometimes not overcomplicate it and think like, you may just assume the guy knows not to run 30 pounds of air in his tire. Exactly. So you instantly are going to a shock adjustment. And the whole time he's got 30 pounds of air in the tire. That's my point,
though. Yeah, if I'm not out there running 3s on a GT 500, right? Then I know the exact pressure that Hoosier DBR likes. I know this, I know that, I know that the tune because I was logging the heck out of that car, so I see that. Just like blue balls or whatever. So
since the Dragy stuff, obviously, we do quarter miles with Dragys, but for the most part, you're doing like 60 to 130s or 100 to 150s, which is closely tied in with roll racing. What's your opinion of roll racing? So there's two types of roll racing.
That's what I was going to say.
There's street roll racing and then there's track roll racing.
Here's the thing. I will tell you this. If I can figure out a way to make a big power car hook from a roll on an average surface, it pretty much translates to the drag strip. Mm. But there's your outliers like, oh, I got wheelie problems. You're not going to run into that roll racing. So I got to know how to resolve that. Or you got these other things. Now, I guess my answer to your question is what bothers me is when drag racers that are really hardcore drag racers make fun of roll racing.
I was just going to say
I don't like it when people make fun of anything competitive. It bothers me.
Yeah, it really bothers me.
Why do you have to go and say, that's gay? Yeah. That's what you'll see the drag racers or say. And it's like, well, first of all, and it happens a lot where people make jabs at me, and it's like, I've made thousands of drag strip passes.
Right.
Don't get it twisted.
Right.
At the end of the day, I'd rather go to the drag strip. You know me.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to the drag strip than do anything. But
Right.
I just like to constantly be making passes. I can't drive to Bradenton every day.
Right.
I can go right out to Mexico. you know, so I just love competition in that regard. Like
that, and that's why I asked, because that bothers me when people say that it's stupid or whatever. Because
or they say it's you may as well compare dyno sheets. That is so far out.
It only shows
not even.
It shows they're ignorant. It's the same type of person that's talking about S650 numbers that has never touched an S650. So, you know, to me, roll racing, it's beneficial in multiple ways. It's just something fun to do. You don't have to take it so seriously.
Exactly.
Like, what else are you going to be doing?
Break less parts too.
If you can't go to the drag strip and your choices are to sit on the couch and watch TV
and talk shit to people,
or go out and roll race somebody.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go out and roll race somebody
every time.
But to me, like, when you're talking about a race environment, almost always, whether it's Texas, FL2K, any of those events that combine roll racing, I always enter the roll race. And people go, what are you doing? I go, bro,
it's racing.
It's kind of fun. It's a little. I've had some situations where problem starts and like I'm like, this stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't run into that.
Yeah.
And at the very least, I'm out there and I'm logging my car and I'm getting it ready for the next day in the future.
Exactly.
So everything other than launch and maybe a wheelie issue is already friggin' handled.
Yeah.
But even then, even if that wasn't the benefit, it's just fun. I like anything competitive. I don't care if it's ping pong or whatever. Like, I just like to compete at things. And it doesn't bother me if you don't want to do that. But when you crap on somebody else because like it's not as cool as what you do, it's like roll racing is just a competition of speed and performance, no different than to me. No, I'm not throwing shade at drifters, but like drifting is more towards that than roll racing. But you'll get people that are into drifting called roll racing gay. It's like, dude, drifting is more like figure skating. Like, it's judged.
Exactly.
Know? There's no like.
It's not a metric.
Finite number.
Right.
You know?
Which leads to the Dragy thing. I always see, just the other day, somebody posted a quarter mile and it wasn't fast. I don't remember what it was, like a 10-second pass. And the guy was like, finally, the 6130 stuff's stupid. And it's like, nothing measured to me is stupid at all. I love it. I love a dyno. I love a Dragy. I love a time slip. I love a half-mile time when you go to that stuff. Or not time, speed.
Yeah.
It's measured. Performance and a measurement. So then think about it. What is the metric that the whole world talks about? And it's the one that I don't really, well, I know you talk about it a lot, but 0 to 60.
Right.
It's a metric that's been talked about for ages. And it's like, okay, I want to go faster than 60.
Right. No, I agree.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I understand why you would say, I went 0 to 60 in 1.99, like the manufacturer said. But at the end of the day, 0 to 60 in 2024 is like, and it's like right here. Like, it's like,
and to me, like, you know, a Dragy 60 to 130, I take that just seriously as a time slip. Somebody will tell me they're 60 to 130. I'm like, give me the slip. I want to see what the 60 to 70 was, 70 to 80.
Increments.
And the increments. And I could go, okay, well, you know, I went this, but my 60 to 100 is faster than that.
So
than
you
this
know
guy,
that
but then
you got to work on something
in the back
though.
end, and maybe it was a shift or, you know, and it's like, so even that's going to matter at the drag strip too.
Exactly.
Right. It's still going to matter. Like, okay, what's wrong here? Is they're pulling too much timing on the shift? Am I shifting it slow? If it's a stick shift, why am I quicker to 100? But then
same exact thing. That's why it's so valuable.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It is like a valuable tool. You know, that's why I do all my testing. I'll be like, oh, I'm going to port my intake and go do it. And I even do it. I don't know if you've seen, I need to do it more, but I'll do single gear testing.
Yeah.
There's no variable.
It's pretty much like a dyno pull, right?
Exactly.
Except you
so
can
if it goes 7.1, 7.1, 7.1, and then I port the intake and I'm doing third gear from 3,000 to red line.
Right.
And I have those speeds marked because I calculated them. And then I have all that data. Then it goes 6.8, 6.8, 6.8. I just picked up 0.3 through a gear. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that will make sure. So really quick, I've had people years ago, because I've been using Dragy. You used it before I did. You were like, this thing's cool. And it took me a while to get adopted to it. And then I just went overboard.
I actually had something else before that. It was by Escort, the radar detector people.
Okay.
Back when I had the very first modular depot, some guy from
you had
Finland showed up with it, and he's like, check this thing out. I'm like, what the hell is that? You know, and then Dragy, obviously.
But what I was going to tell you is like, over the years, I've set goals for some of these cars that I have, and I go to the track and I get my results like right away.
Yep.
Why? Because I was out testing it and I was looking at Dragy, I was looking at logs, I was communicating with you.
Well, and the Dragy stuff, roll racing or whatever you want to call it, allows you to really get most things dialed in without, I mean, usually when you're going to break a car, at least most cars, it's going to be in that first 100 feet.
Yeah.
You know, because it's really hard launching a car if it's a fast car.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just doing roll racing, obviously tranny can break on a shift, or you can mess up a clutch if it's a stick shift car. But for the most part, it allows you to race without as much of a danger of like having to tow it home.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Good luck with Kelltrac. And I asked you what's going to happen in 5 years. So maybe every year or so we'll redo this and we'll kind of keep track of how things are going.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
Thanks, Kelly.
Okay.